recording? Did you start recording?
Hey, Rob.
Howdy.
You're on the air. So we're live, right?
Did you start recording?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, yep, we're on.
Got the split screen?
Yep.
Let's make sure we're all set. Okay, working? Can you hear the audio?
I don't hear anything. I mean, I can see you walking around. Oh, hang on,
We need to see if the audio is
no,
working.
I got audio.
Can you tell?
Yep, I usually turn the bottom volume ways.
Does that go right to your,
Yep.
and it's working?
Yep.
Okay.
Need to have special directions for Clarkson University grads.
Okay, you're live.
Got one on each end.
Okay, so we're on.
You gotta turn this on. We're live here too. Okay. Okay, we'll call this, town board meeting to order on May 6th, 2020 at 5 p.m. Everybody please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Anybody have a motion on the minutes? Jesse sent us
I know.
3 different bunches of minutes.
I honestly have not looked at them.
You what?
I have to admit, I have not looked at them.
I haven't been online the last 2 days, so.
Yeah, I haven't either,
So,
so.
I mean,
So,
I know she sent that message, and that was good for her to do that, but
Yeah.
obviously we didn't follow up.
okay, so we'll try to look at those and take care of that next meeting?
Okay,
Sure.
Okay.
that's our fault.
The motion to pay bills, we don't have any bills, as this is a meeting in between our normal monthly meeting. We approved everything last time. At this point, we'll open up the privilege of the floor. Sandy, your cell phone number?
315-489-1613.
My cell phone number, 315-778-5665. If anybody wants to text or call, please feel free to do so. And I just got a text, good picture and audio.
You telling me you're online? Is there a number, Mike?
Sandy, you got some things you wanna go through?
Number, how many people are
I do.
online?
I have, and I hope I have the right name.
5.
I believe her name is Kathy Stroud, approached me a couple weeks ago, and I meant to bring it up at the last meeting and I forgot. She is concerned, and actually it was long enough ago where maybe it's not a concern now. Across from Keewaydin State Park, there is a wood wreck that's there.
Oh, yeah.
And she said that she had seen last summer, and she's like, we're getting ready to go into the season again. Somebody from Keewaydin State Park, it was a truck with a trailer, had a big, ATV on it, and they pulled all the way across traffic. She said it was busy as hell, trying to get over to get that wood. And I did drive up there and look at it, and I guess my first question is there any rules for people putting stuff on the side of the road? Is that the land?
Owned by Keewaydin?
I don't
I'm
know.
surprised, I thought they
I
owned it
think
all.
they own that. That's their property, so is that them?
Well, we need to find out who's put that building there and who's selling the wood and
It's not
by
really a
rights.
building, it's just a
It's a shack,
wood
isn't
rack.
it?
Yeah,
It's not even
I-
a shack, it's just a wood rack.
I saw that, it's only been there maybe like a month, not very
Oh,
long.
it's been there,
Couple months.
Okay, well, a couple
months,
months, but it just kind of just appeared.
yeah.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
was-
if Norris or Ron are listening, they can, text us or call us, but I believe that requires a permit.
Because obviously people need to stop if they're doing that kind of stuff, which is probably not a really good place to be doing that.
So if we don't hear from Norris or Ron tonight, we'll get a hold of them, tomorrow. Ask them to take a look at it, see if it does require a permit, which I'm pretty sure it does. And I guess the first people we contact is Keewaydin State Park. I'd be surprised that Keewaydin State Park is getting into the wood selling business.
Cause I'm pretty certain they bought that property right straight across the road.
I mean, that house right there on the corner going into Keewaydin, they used to have a wood rack right in their front yard. Maybe I'm wrong.
That's Keewaydin property as well.
But a long time ago, I thought I remembered there being one there, so it was on the same side of the road if they were pulling out. I mean, if it is theirs, if they could get it over on the other side. But like I said, I don't know whose it is, what it is, but she's just very concerned that if, you know, obviously right now we don't know if anybody's gonna open, but if it were open and we had our traffic as usual, that could be a very dangerous intersection, you know, 'cause people are still coming in at a pretty good speed right there. That's right where you start to slow down. So, anyway, that was just her concern, and I just wondered, you know, do they have to have permits? Whose is it? Is it the landowners, or did somebody else just?
Yep, well, we can contact Norris and Ron and find out.
Okay.
Next?
Okay, I don't know, believe it or not, I received a letter here, the town of Alexandria addressed to me, town of Alexandria, to me, and there's no return address, just wanna make it very clear, and the letter is not signed by anybody, but I'll read it. It's April 28, 2020, Mr. Mike Fayette. I am writing you concerning property on County Route 111. Property is owned by Ricky Umstead, which is a bad eyesore for a neighborhood. The neighbors in the area have to drive by and look at. What about people new to the area driving by and seeing that junkyard? Garbage dump, junk cars, camping trailer, scrapyard. Would you personally, along with Sandra Caputo, get into a car and drive down here and personally eyeball this mess? This is a problem that should be addressed. This is a problem area has not been addressed for only being left to deaf ears. This is a disgrace to the area. Rick Umstead property needs serious attention. I made a copy of this letter, gave it to our zoning enforcement officer, Norris Hanshu. He's received numerous complaints, and he tells me that they, you know, pass it on to the judges. Unfortunately, since everything's being closed down, they can't follow through, you know, with a court date to kind of address this. But just wanted to read this. Again, there's no name on it, which unfortunately can't respond to anybody because there's no name.
Norris has sent them a letter. He came into my office today and talked to me about it. One of the issues that he has is that when he sends a letter that starts a 30-day clock ticking, that they have to clean it up. If they don't, then Norris issues them another citation this time, and that brings them into court. He can't issue any citations because court is not open. So he's gonna send the letter out, another letter out, certified mail again. And talking with Dave Courtwright today about when court's gonna open, and he's not sure. So I've got 2 or 3 complaints on 2 other properties, and I've had to tell those people the same thing, because those properties have been issued their letters. That gives them 30 days, and then we pull them into court, and there's no court. So as soon as we get notification that the courts are gonna open up, we'll start following through with these letters and these citations, and that process.
What about that, I think a couple meetings ago, we talked about that property on 26 right up from me, the trailer that had burned, or the house, or whatever it was?
Yes, that's one of the ones.
Is that we're still waiting for that to go to court?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. That's the Lawton property, in the trailer park. Yep.
That, parcel, I just looked it up, is owned by TI Fitness. The property line for Keewaydin, if you come out of Keewaydin, the property line is probably 100 feet to the right.
Okay.
So they do own they bought a large chunk, but right as you come out of Keewaydin, that's part of the TI Fitness.
Okay.
So that would be where they could start.
Bass people.
Bass.
Okay, all right, okay.
Yep. So we can tell Norris and Ron that they should first look at the permit situation. I believe they have to have a permit, and they can.
It would have surprised me if you know, Parks and Recs are getting into the firewood business at this.
Well, it's not on their property.
Right, but I'm just saying, we kinda
Yep.
thought or were speculating, but it would, which kinda confirms the fact that
Yeah.
it's probably not them, it would make no sense for them.
That's why they haven't done anything about it, it's not on their property.
Yep, okay. Next,
I just was gonna comment on some rumblings that I heard on Facebook. I'm surprised actually that it took so long and it was over the transfer site increases. Because they were, I mean, we almost doubled the prices, so I'm not surprised to hear rumblings. I was surprised at how long it took. I don't like to use Facebook though as a platform for things that go on with the town. So I did reply to a couple things. I left some comments, and I guess you guys, if anybody's watching, this is your time to call in. And if this is where you need to make those comments and constructive, inputs of, you know, what's another way or a better way. I had told them I had talked to everyone here about scales. I think we're all in agreement that that's probably the best way to go. It'll be the fairest. It will, you know, there'll be no subjective, parts to it. Myself, I'm hesitant right now to, you know, I gave you guys the part for the actual scale, at least one bid, and one printer, but it wasn't the exact one that I thought we should have. But you're gonna need a building to put it in, because it would be crazy to have the building inside the current building, and then they've gotta move it, you know, weigh it here and move it. It should be right there by the trash compactor. So I think we're looking at easily $5,000 before, you know, by the time you're said and done, by the time you take and hook up the power over to there and you do all the other necessary things.
that system that you looked at, I think the price was $2,400 for the scale.
Yeah, and I think you had a better price than that through Waste Management.
Yeah, and the one that I looked at came from the waste management people that they were familiar with, and I read it pretty thoroughly, and I didn't see anything about the fact that it was weatherproof. Yeah, I think they use those systems inside of warehouses.
Well, that's what she's saying.
But hers is, the one that she had is weatherproof.
I know, but I still think it should be in a building.
Yeah, I
You think
mean,
the scale plate itself should be in a building?
Yeah. Just, you know, we're gonna be shoveling it off, you know, it's ice, whatever, you know, we have winter here.
I mean, one of my thoughts was, Mike, you and I went to North Country Mini Barns, and we bought that building for the cans and bottles.
I was just gonna ask
And
you.
we spent $2,000.
I was just gonna ask you that.
And
We
I'm
don't need
just
much
thinking
more
this,
than
as you guys are saying this, that if we bought a small building, it wouldn't have to be as large as that.
Nope.
And you could have a porch, 4 or 6 foot porch on the front of it that would be covered. You could put that scale right there on that porch.
Yep.
And that would be covered and somewhat enclosed. And you'd have a door right behind that, because you may have to have a computer to run this,
Yeah.
to run a printer, and to do the program that's gonna say it's X amount of dollars per pound, or cents per pound, and the bag weighs 10 pounds, and we're charging $1 a pound, so they owe $10. So we have to look into that. As far as, I just have a feeling it's gonna take some software to make that.
Would they have to have a tenant buy this thing all the while, I would think?
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
think about where the
So we
current
gotta have room
where the-
enough for him in the wintertime, I mean, this,
Well, where the current office is, doesn't make a whole lot of sense from
No.
where the compactor is.
No.
That's a problem all by itself, so this would kinda cause us to correct that situation,
Yep, yep.
right?
Oh, so in other words, this would take the place of the office?
So, yeah, yeah. Well, like you're saying, you'd have like a porch, that's where the scale would be, and you have a replacement office where the operator could be, we could winterize it. Is it gonna be?
You could have a window or two in the front of that could actually be sliding windows that you could use
Yes,
when the season's fine.
yep,
Yeah. Because the scales that I've looked at, and I think the one that Sandy had, it had a digital readout, screen. So when you put the bag on the scale, it'd give you a digital readout of what it weighed. In order to have that
We need
digital.
that to be a dollar sign.
What's that?
That needs to do it in dollars and cents.
And that's why I think you're gonna need software.
Yeah.
You know, because all the ones I read about, all the digital readouts showed the weight that were tied to the scale. But, those are my thoughts, so, and I'm just saying, in putting the prices together, that we could be over $5,000 doing that. Very easily, if we gotta buy a building, we gotta buy a computer with software and a printer. The one thing that we've all agreed on about a printer is we want a duplicate receipt printer, or like my cash register at my store, you push receipt, and every time you push receipt, it kicks the most recent sales receipt up. So you'd have to push that twice, rather than have duplicate copies. Because we want a copy, and they want and the person's gotta get a copy.
I'm certain this will pay for itself.
What's that?
I'm certain this, a building of whatever size we've determined that we need and these scales, within a year or two will pay for itself.
Yeah, I'm not saying that they won't, I'm just saying that I understand Sandy's.
And then the issues that we've been having with that transfer site
Go away.
will go away.
And it's a fairness, and then it becomes
It's totally fair, totally fair.
Yeah.
So we gotta have somebody put a price together on this, right?
Because one of the things we talked about earlier here tonight is some people go up there and they have things that aren't in a bag, and so then they get a bag and they throw it in a bag, and somebody had just a garden hose that they wanted to throw out. Well, it ended up going into a big bag, so that's a $6 deal for a garden hose. And if you put a garden hose on a scale, it probably would have cost you $2, or maybe not even that, you know. So that's part of our issue and our problem here. So one of the things I thought about doing for the time being, because of no loose items, is the town buying a case or a couple cases of bags and putting them up there. So if you have somebody that brings something to the dump and they don't have it in a bag, and they find out that, oh my God, they won't take it, they don't have to throw it back in their vehicle and leave mad, versus the fact that they're gonna be mad enough at the price, but the fact that they don't have a bag. And from what I understand, there's been people that have brought loose items there that didn't have bags. You know, we have the advertisement and all this public notice about this change at the dump. We've had it in the newspaper. We have 2 large ads in the newspaper. We've got it on our website. We've got it posted in 4 different places at the dump. But it's gonna take a while for this to get out. You know, I learned this week that obviously a lot of people don't read the newspaper, because the ad that we had in the newspaper was just about a quarter of a page, and it was yellow with black print. And Byron's got a lot of people that know nothing about this change. So,
I think we're providing a service, and having a couple extra boxes of bags, probably.
well, the other thing that we put on our
That'd be
website,
fine too, I mean.
that we put on our website today, is we have a 3-year profit and loss that shows the transfer site losing from $45,000 to $66,000 in the last 3 years. So that's our reasoning that we're trying to change the rates up there. We pay by the pound, so the proper way to charge our taxpayers is by the pound.
Yep.
And we realize that. So. You have any more?
Yes. See, it's a good thing I wrote these down. So lastly, and I hope Dorothy texted me and said there was 9 people on watching.
How many?
9. So I hope there's a few more that have joined by now. Mike and I have been meeting every Wednesday since I've joined the board. Bringing me up to speed, helping me to learn about.
How many Wednesdays have you met? You've met like 2-3 months?
Yeah.
And
I
you've
think
got
I've missed 2.
3 or 4 people at a meeting?
Right.
4 people?
Yeah, because
And
usually Jamie's here, Dale's here. Dale won't be coming anymore. I think we're to a point where we don't need him anymore. But, and the different things that we've been discussing is the billing and the EDU's benefit assessment, everything that has to do with the water. But what I think at this point now, after going online and seeing that there was a sewer committee, I really think that Mike and we need to be more than just us. And we can't ask Ronnie and we can't ask John, because the minute 3 of us get together, it's considered a board meeting, and you can't do that. So, I would like some volunteers from the community, preferably.
Well, each one of the water districts, not just.
Yep. Yes, you have to be in one of the water districts. We'd like, you know, Carnegie Bay is very small, so to ask for, you know, 2 people from them is probably not reasonable.
Well, one would be fine.
But one would be fine. You know, Redwood is a very large district. You know, if we could get 2 people from Redwood area, if we could get 1 or 2 people from each sewer district and put their name in, and if you could appoint a committee for us, a water committee, we've got about 2 to 3 months left, really, before we need to have this nailed down to present for public hearing and to get this new law in place by, the first of the year. And the one thing that the last 2 weeks, we've been working on definitions. And we went through them last week, and then we came back and I had them all typed up and we made some alterations. But one thing that I would really like, there's a couple of terms that we can give this to Mr. Sly, that we need to have verified that, you know, what we've got for definitions are adequate, and it's what the comptroller was referring to for the benefit assessment. But I would really like to send a letter out in the water bills just went out, but the next billing, and I've done an example, and I've used myself as the example. So the roadhouse is a water user only, it only gets water. But, dear Ms. Caputo, as a resident in the Redwood Water District, you are currently receiving a charge of $124.99 per quarter on your water bill, which goes towards capital charges in that district, totaling, you know, $500 per year. Starting in 2021, this capital charge is being looked at as potentially being placed as a line item on your town taxes for January 2021. It will be based off your assessed value, which currently is, and mine is $174,000, at $360 per thousand, which would equal $628 per year. Your water and your water/sewer, I don't get sewer, bill starting January 2021, and in parentheses, I've got your bill will be early April, will no longer have these charges. You will only have an operating and maintenance charge of approximately, right now, what we figured out will be.
But that's just for water,
That's just for water, yeah, I shouldn't have had the sewer in there.
Yeah.
Would be $51.23 per EDU.
Per quarter.
And per quarter, and appropriate usage charges. Bottom line, you will be seeing an increase in your tax bill starting in January, but your quarterly water and sewer will go down substantially. We need to modify these, like for me, this would be strictly water. For people that get water and sewer, then it would be the water and sewer. And we'd have to put the sewer portion in there also. Unfortunately, we cannot give you hard numbers at this time, but we are trying to get the word out so that you have time to plan for upcoming personal budgeting. We do believe we are close with the numbers, so this is our best guess at this time. And I'm going to constantly plug this because I wish more people were tuning in. The town of Alexandria is trying to make it easier for public participation of town board meetings with live streaming at, please join us from the comfort of your home. We meet the last Wednesday of every month at 5 p.m. and more often as necessary under these current uncertain times.
Yep.
But I'm really
Kind of to expand on what Sandy's saying, because we've at our weekly meetings, we talk about things just like what you guys are talking about. Just expand on the 360 that she's referring to. Is what I did is every one of the water districts and the sewer district, I got on the tax rolls and got every single piece of property in these particular districts along with their assessed value, and then got together with Nicole and found, you know, got the, in this case, the capital costs, you know, to pay off the loans that were taken out to build these systems. That's a fixed number, year after year after year. That's how much we need to come up with. So, based on the current assessed value, and how much the capital cost is, it works out to be $3.60. In my conversations with the town assessor this week, he just got done going through his annual thing, and the assessed value for the town of Alexandria went up $3 million. So, not every one of those, all $3 million is gonna say end up in one particular district, but it'll that 360 will be driven by your ultimate assessed value. So year after year, it's not always gonna be the same because your assessed value is probably gonna change. The other portion that you talked about was the O&M. That $51.23 is based on, when we went through and looked at EDUs for water, just like they're done now for Redwood Sewer for the sewer, is, single-family dwelling would be the one EDU, and then a table that would address different uses. So when you get the total number of EDUs, and again, I got together with Nicole, and I got last year's O&M costs for, in this case, Redwood Water. I did it for all the districts. When you take the number of EDUs and the overall cost for annually for this past year, it works out to $51.23. Now, every year when we do our budget work, we should be anticipating for the upcoming year the O&M costs, in this case for, say, Redwood Water. At that point in time, when we do our budget work for that, we also set the O&M costs for the users in each particular district. Okay, does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. But I mean, that's what she's referring to.
I know it will take, because each letter is going to have to be individually done, because you're gonna have to take their water bill, and then you're gonna have to take, get their assessment, because it doesn't, their assessment is not on their water bill, to give them an idea of what they're looking at. But I think if it's personal to them, rather than a blanket letter, hopefully it will help, and hopefully it will spark some conversation, so maybe they will show up at these things. Because we know that there's been a lot of issues and stuff in the past, and we gotta get to where we're better. But anyways, that's just my thought.
Okay. Any more public concerns?
Along that, and this is more of a technical thing, but with the benefit assessment, it would seem, because that one's gonna be the easier, because that's a fixed number every year,
Mhm.
and it'll change with the assessed valuations.
Yes.
And so that part will change. So historically, your assessments usually climb, so that rate will go down. But I'm just thinking it might be good to have a fund balance for that, separate for that, as for the O&M.
And we talked about that as well. Now, that particular topic is a little more interesting. First off, the comptroller's office, kind of identifies, a number of different fund balances that you should have for districts, but we currently have none. So,
Right.
well, as soon as we have one, it'll be the first one. But not all water districts are the same. Like Carnegie Bay, 14 users.
Mm-hmm.
Redwood, 300. So, in a much bigger system as well. It's miles worth of pipe as opposed to a couple hundred yards. So therefore, the reserve fund for Redwood would need to be bigger.
Yep.
And then the reserve fund for the other ones would be smaller, and like Edgewood, it'd be our only involvement is a master meter.
Right.
And that's it. So my thoughts on it, and the benefits, I just described in the benefit assessment and the O&M and the reserve, I have contacted the comptroller's office, and they're looking into it to make sure, well, what I guess we're proposing here is okay. But getting back to the reserve fund, is as a board, we would set what we would think an adequate reserve fund for, say, Redwood Water would be. And then annually, we would, based on assessed values, or however we decide to work that out, we would work our way to that point.
Mm-hmm.
And say it's $100,000. Once we get to $100,000, then we would no longer collect it because we're there. Now, when something, you have to get into it, then you replenish it as needed.
Mm-hmm.
That's what my thoughts are.
Yep.
Because at the end of the day, this is what we do not want to have happen. The money we borrowed for these systems, and it's on the backs of the people in these districts, they're like 38-year loans. We don't wanna partway through have to go and borrow more money and extend that 38 years. At 38 years, we wanna be done. So that's what, we wanna have these fund balances to prevent us, unless there's something super bad happens, to have to keep pushing that forward. And some,
I think
our
at the end of-
replacements in the
At the end of
future.
38 years, I think, because sometimes those loans are meant for the life of certain parts of the,
Right,
I think we're gonna be into another project.
Right, but somebody's gonna replace all of us, and I would really love to be able to hand off to them a clean slate.
Right. And we won't have to worry about it, at least we'll put a proper system in place.
Right.
Yeah.
We have positive fund balances in Otter Street and Redwood.
Okay,
And I'm looking at year-end 2019, December 31st. The rest are negative.
Yeah.
The other three.
I would like to get, and I'm
Yeah.
sure everybody would echo that, you know, all the districts on a firm financial
Yep.
footing.
I think on the agenda, I'm gonna skip 1 through 6 and go to 7 and 8 for Rob Campany, who's here. The first one is the DEC permit application for cutting the concrete wall on Route 37. And the second one is the Goose Bay Launch Ready Project, seeker process. You okay if we do that, Rob?
Sure.
Sorry I took so long.
No, that's okay. You're doing your job.
So we'll start with, number 7, which is the DEC permit application for cutting the concrete wall Route 37. This is something that we've been talking about for a year and a half. And Rob took a look at it and actually put together a permit application a year ago or so.
Yeah, last June or July.
And, as everybody knows, there's a concrete wall there that the water has to get to the top of that wall, and then it flows over, and then it goes through the pipe. I mean, Rob and I spoke about this today, and, we're limited to what can go through that pipe by the size of the pipe and what it can handle. So,
It's worse than, it's not just how much can go through that pipe, because I don't believe there's any, the particular issue there is what we're limited on is how the water gets to that pipe.
Well, there's a couple of issues. So, there's 2 ways for the water to leave the trough. We'll call it trough. It's about 70 feet long, it's about 2.5 feet wide. And in the center of it, there's a drop inlet, there's a square, concrete inlet that goes to a pipe. I think it's a 36-inch pipe underneath Route 37, okay? And then at the other end, on the, not on Frost and on the Edgar end, where the Edgar building is.
Butterfield Lakeside?
Right,
No.
I believe it's the Edgar building.
Felder.
On Felder side.
Yeah.
There's another drop inlet, and that's the drop inlet where it appears to be a laid up stone box culvert, 2 of them, I believe, that we couldn't get the camera through. That's the one that's in bad shape.
That's the one that the pipe that goes through the people's basement.
Correct. The 36-inch one's in good condition, it's concrete. We got a camera through it, we did the video inspection. So, there's grates over both of those. Now, primarily, the good culvert, the 36-inch culvert that goes under the road is the one that operates most all the time, because the grade is lower, it's in the bottom of the trough, and that's the one that takes most of the water most of the time. And there's kind of a trapezoid, a trapezoid grate on it. And the limiting factor is really that grate gets debris on it a lot of times. It plugs up. That's one issue. The other is, the 36-inch pipe has just a certain capacity. The long, I'll call it dam, that the water comes over, it's almost 70 feet. And so you can put a lot more water over the curb, the inside curb, than can literally go through the pipe. I mean, roughly you have 36-inch diameter pipe, but you have 68 feet of curb, and you put a foot over it, you pass a lot more water over the curb than that you could physically get through the pipe anyway. So the curb really isn't the issue. I think the issue is the debris that can collect on the grates And at some point, the physical capacity of the pipe is a problem. Now, pipes, it's actually good to build head on a pipe, you know, you put, I think that's like 6 or 8 feet deep.
Inlet control, outlet control.
Yeah, and so if you can put more water through a pipe, if you can build 6 feet of pressure on the upstream end of it, you know, so that's not a bad thing, that it's this drop inlet, because the capacity of the pipe is actually increased. So what the thought was, I know originally, was cut a section of the curb out, right, and lower, the curb's about 12 inches high, so you could lower that pond elevation about a foot, you know, normal pond elevation, when there wasn't much flow. But, and you could also increase the capacity over the 68-foot long dam as well. It would increase it a little bit. And in fact, somebody already did that on the frost end. They chipped out the concrete curb, I'm guessing maybe 3 or 4 feet. They exposed the rebar, and I think I got a photo in, I don't know if you shared the draft permit app that I did, but
No.
there's a photo of that section where somebody chipped it out years ago, again, to try to lower it. So the thought was, cut that curb out, lower it, you know, so it's not up at Nate's floor level, most of the time, where it really is now. And so that's the thought. Now, I know, Mike, you and I had a conversation last summer, I think, about, well, maybe we ought to breach the dam even lower and dry that pond up.
Well, let's back up and describe, why is that dam there?
Well, I think the dam was there. I'm not sure, you know, anecdotally, we heard that it was the fire department that
Right.
dammed it up so they could have it, so they could draft out of that.
For fire protection, for the
You mean the dam, which dam are you asking about?
the one right next to me.
One by
Oh, okay,
37.
yeah.
The one we're talking about.
So,
60.
my point in mentioning that is, the purpose of that structure no longer exists. It's been replaced by municipal water with hydrants.
Yeah. Right, as far as fire protection, you don't need it.
Right.
The fire department used to own that land.
Yes.
And now the town does.
Yes,
So they use it for a water source.
right, for fire protection. It's something, before there was hydrants and stuff
Yep.
they could hook onto,
Yep.
they needed to have water to be able to put fires out.
Yep. One of my thoughts is that, you know, over the years here, I've seen a lot of complaints from Nate and his neighbors, and they're very justified complaints, because how many times has he had water in his shop and it's destroyed some of his equipment, the house next door, and I know Gene Kring had thousands of dollars worth of damage to his apartment building a few years back. So that's one of my thoughts about, cutting this concrete, so that so that water won't get so high as to flood into those areas. That was my reason for saying that we could possibly do that to help those people out in that situation they deal with.
We don't wanna forget, when we do that, then we gotta have a dam back at the railroad track, back by Felder's.
Right.
We gotta control the lake level, mud lake, because
That's
it's
another issue, I guess that's.
That's also Clear Lake's involved.
Right. Yeah, and that's basically a, old railroad box culvert that somebody fit with some stop logs. I don't know, is it 8 feet wide?
Probably.
Maybe, but the stop log is kind of rotted away. I believe it's in tough shape, but the beavers also take control of that sometimes and dam off, because of convenient spots of beavers.
But the first thing is we gotta control it there, right, before we start mucking with this culvert up by 37.
The other issue is, DOT issue, it's in the DOT right away, I would assume, I'm not sure of the
No,
right
there's
way.
no doubt about it.
But it's about, I think I measured it, it's some 30 or 35 feet off the center line, so I'm not sure what the right of way width is there. But not only would you need a stream disturbance permit to modify that, you may need to get permission from the DOT, and the question is, you're still, you're trying to have discussions with DOT relative to whose drainage structure is this, which this could be considered part of.
They're running away.
Yeah.
They're saying it's not theirs.
But I think there's several issues with this whole dam modification piece that really.
Well, another one of the issues is that pipe that you tried to get the camera up to, that's what, 12-inch diameter or something?
Well, I think it's actually rectangular,
Well, that's
some sort of laid up.
That
It's
pipe-
had
But the
shape.
problem with that pipe, I would just abandon it all, it goes underneath somebody's building. That's something we can't even really utilize, even if it was in good shape.
So the question really is, I mean, that appears, was that put in later? It's the inlet grade of that's at a little higher elevation than the main grade. So I'm not sure why that was put in, if it was an overflow kind of structure, or was it used for water power? Because I know, there were several old flumes that fed mills of some sort.
Could be.
It's in the area where that pipe comes out over on the far side of I'm gonna call it the Butterfield Lake side of the road, okay? In that area where the state has gone with a sounding bar and they've sounded the road. And they've said that there's an area over there that is hollow. And so we're thinking that pipe or that area has washed away. You said the pipe is compromised, it's not operating properly.
Right.
And whether the water's going around it and taking fill away with it, because there was discussion about filling that pipe with concrete to try to stabilize that area.
But in fact, I think that issue has to be brought to head with DOT somehow.
Well, Rob's already done the work on this permit application. If everybody's okay, we'll have him submit that. I think when he submits that, but maybe we will have some DEC people that will wanna talk to us,
Mhm.
which would be a good thing.
What are the dimensions of what's gonna be removed?
Well, I said about 6 feet. It really was kept rather arbitrary, to give some relief. 6 feet certainly gonna improve how much water you can get to the pipe. It's gonna improve the capacity, maybe 10 or 15%, of what can get to the culvert, so.
So if I understand it right, the water's gonna get there sooner than it would. In other words, right now it has to build up,
It has to build up. that's
Until it goes
what's
over.
correct. Then it goes over.
and then as the water exceeds what can go over it, it keeps getting higher into adjoining property owners' property.
Correct, and that's when the problem then.
So this will provide some real relief.
Of course, in the spring, or when you have these flooding events, then you get a lot of debris that floats down, it floats over this dam. And plugs the grates up, and then you get even more flooding.
Well, that's my question, if we remove the grate, is there a chance that debris would get plugged down in the pipe?
I mean, you do have this grating that protects it, I
There
don't
should
think
be
it's.
something to stop it, because we don't want a bunch of sticks getting in there wedged.
But you don't want somebody falling in it either.
Hmm?
Yeah, I mean, the grating's in pretty good shape.
Yeah,
You're gonna get sticks that float, whether it goes
as long as
over
they
the
keep
top
going
or-
down through.
over the top or around the end, you're always gonna have debris that will collect on that grate. The key is try to keep the grate clear. Yeah, and I think you said Nate has kinda taken that as his own personal,
Yeah, yes.
maintenance task.
He
because-
keeps that grate very clean, and the only thing he asks the town to do is we stop by and pick up the pile of stuff that he takes off the grate, whenever it starts to build up.
Right.
Yep.
Where are you looking at doing this? Down at the end where you said it's already been
Well,
compromised?
that's what we had
Or-
thought, is because that'd be the least amount of work. And again, it's not a lot of work, take a demo saw, a concrete saw, you cut the concrete up, chip it, cut the rebar out, and make a better channel. But again, it's not the end all to the flooding problem that Frost's small engine. It will help the flow, but you're still gonna have times with extremely heavy rainfall combined with the plugging of the grate.
The ultimate height of that dam sets the water level.
It does, but there's some leakage. I've been, in the summertime, it's leaking out other places around that dam.
Which isn't good for the road, as far as that goes.
No, in fact, if that pond was completely drained, that would be good for the subgrade of the road. I agree with Mike.
Because it's constantly wet.
Yeah, because it's got pressure. You know, on the other side of the road, there's a steep bank.
So why can't we completely drain that and put the dam back by the railroad track where it should be?
Right, and I think that was the discussion ultimately, can we breach that dam completely? And that was kind of where Mike was headed.
Well, that's the thing too, is like, you know, initially when you do that, the 3-foot pipe would probably be taxed to its fullest extent. But
Right.
once you just have the ordinary flow coming from Mud Lake, I don't think that, I don't know, you'd have to do a hydraulic analysis, but I don't think there'd be an issue with that 3-foot pipe carrying that way.
I don't think it's big enough. I did a real quick back of the napkin calculation, and the drainage area of Mud Lake's bigger than you think. And, the hydraulic pad, 36-inch pipe is, depending on what hydraulic modeling calculation you use, it's right on the edge of having enough capacity, I think. And, that's where building head on that pipe, the way it is now, is actually a good thing, because you get more water through it.
Well, that's like a detention basin.
Yeah.
Didn't the kids from Clarkson spend a summer up here evaluating why Butterfield Lake has such a high bacteria count? And said that it probably came from that pond you'd like to drain?
I don't know if I ever saw any.
I think that's what they said when this first got, when Butterfield Lake was blaming sewer from Redwood getting down there, they came and did a study and said, no, the problem is, when the water gets low, you got muskrats, beaver, and whatever they got, and that's what was causing the problem. And if we got rid of that pond.
They did say that.
Hmm?
They did say
Yeah.
that.
So if we eliminated that water, put the dam back by the railroad track, that would take care of everybody's problem, wouldn't it? If we could do that.
Well, this will be the first step in eliminating that water.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so, is everybody okay if the town submits that application to DEC?
You need a motion for it or anything?
Yeah, we should do a
Okay,
motion.
I'll make a motion.
I just
Motion
have one
by
more question. I just have one more question. So, if we started looking at that whole thing of removing that, how deep is that Mud Lake Pond?
That holding area right there?
Yeah.
I really don't know, I mean.
I'm just wondering what the effect would be on Butterfield Lake. You know what I mean?
It's a small area, it's not any bigger than this room, is it, Rob?
Yeah, it's probably the size of this room or so.
Yep.
But the depth, I think it's got a lot of sediment in it from over the
Yeah.
years. I mean, it's been there a long time, the dam there.
Mud Lake has an outlet, so whatever extra water, it's gonna find its own level, and it's
Not gonna bother Butterfield, but like I said again, we gotta be sure we got a dam back railroad track, because there's gotta be a certain amount of water in Mud Lake for the septic, the sewer.
Right, that's
And also, Clear Lake is affected by it.
yeah, well, that's another issue that's
So
kinda.
it's gonna be the big issue,
I
the
don't
water
think
goes
there's
down
any
Mud
real
Lake.
connection between the two.
Well, so that's, but John's got a good point. You're required, the Redwood sewer outfall that goes into Mud Lake.
Right.
You're required to maintain a certain elevation of Mud Lake over the discharge pipe. I think it's 6 feet or something, I think, John. So you need, during times of low water, you know, or a dry summer, you need those stop walks put back in there.
But that dam, there's no correlation between that dam and the one next to Route 37.
No, but if the stop logs have rotted out and are no longer able to maintain the level in Mud Lake, then breaching the other dam could have a negative effect, because they're very close to the same level.
Yeah.
So I do think you need to
So
put,
there's a lot, I'd like you bringing up those kinds of things.
I do think
Yeah.
you need to do something at the old railroad trestle where those stop logs are. You need to put some other structure in to be able to better control the water level on Mud Lake. Yeah.
Is
So
that
it's
part of
really
what
two
we're
different
asking him
issues,
to
but they're
do?
related.
Yeah.
That's part of what we're asking him to do?
I can certainly do that too as another permit, that's another permit.
That isn't part of the application that he's got completed. That's part of
We want him
the
to do
deal that I sent to everybody a week ago in relation to the milfoil treatment in Mud Lake. That
Right.
they wanna be able to shut the flow off at the railroad tracks. And there's a device there right now that's been there for over 20 years, I think, right, John?
For a
And
long time.
it's pretty deteriorated, and it has boards that slide down in between steel, angle iron to regulate the flow. And we were talking about replacing that. And the milfoil grant has funds available to help us with that, if we decide to do that. Because that will affect the milfoil treatment. And the reason it will affect the milfoil treatment is because when they treat it, they can block it off, seal it up. And that means that it'll be better dispersion of the milfoil treatment in Mud Lake.
No question, I think
So that's why,
we can also look into that. I mean,
that's why we've looked into the milfoil deal and looked into the budget of the milfoil, and we had an initial price of $3,500, I wanna say, for that device, which doesn't include installation, it doesn't include fill, it doesn't include a bunch of things, but I got the okay from the milfoil people to pursue doing that, and that they would fund some of it.
So we're gonna need a second motion after we do this one?
Yep, yep. So, we got a motion from Ronnie to, submit the application to DEC for, cutting the wall next to 37. So I need a second for that motion. Second by Mike, any more discussion? This is just allowing him to submit that DEC permit application for the work that we just talked about doing. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion passed. Now we should do another motion to have Rob do a DEC application for rebuilding or replacing that dam structure at the railroad track.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by John, second by Mike. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? None. Motion passed. Okay, Rob, you've got the seeker for the Goose Bay deal?
I will. Pass the niceties out in reverse. No, you don't do that. That's the front. So. That's the part. Right there. So just quickly, the Goose Bay boat ramp project that you funded through the READY program, that process began really back in January and February. We submitted a preliminary report with the scope of the project, which includes basically reconstruction of boat ramp, raising the fixed pier that's there, okay, to a higher level so it wouldn't be flooded, extending or adding some more floating docks, creating or enlarging the upper parking, I'll call it the upper parking lot that the town did a few years ago, and also creating a walking path from the parking lot down to the boat ramp so people don't walk along the edge of Goose Bay Road, because there's not any room really, there's no shoulder on that road, and people walking, once they go and park their truck and trailer, they have to walk down, it's not really safe. So we got comments back from the READY Commission in I think March it was, and we've been working on kind of revising the comments. They ranged from the configuration of the docks. Instead of, we had the docks extending out about 100 feet, and they've asked us to look at different configurations so the docks didn't extend out into the water that far. So maybe going out a certain distance and creating an L or a T or putting several fingers. So we're revising those sketches to resubmit to the READY Commission. They also had some other questions about the parking lots and the configuration of those, and whether vehicles would be allowed on the walking trail, things of that nature. So all those will be addressed in this revised submittal probably next week. We're having a bi-weekly call starting Friday with the READY Commission just to give them updates on the progress, and they can answer any questions that we have. Part of the process is to go through seeker. all right? State Environmental Quality Review Act, where you have to determine whether it's gonna have a negative impact on the environment. I think it was at your January meeting, maybe you established yourself as lead agency, and the process is, you ask the other agency's permission that you can act as lead agent for the secret process. They have up to 30 days to respond, and we did get, I think, responses from everybody saying that they were okay with the town acting as lead agent. That you then go through the part 2 of seeker, okay, and to identify if there's any significant environmental consequences. So I filled this out with my opinion of environmental consequences. Most are minor or non-existent, but I think we're ready to go through this part 2, and I can go through this and read it if you'd like, and then see if you agree with how I responded. If you do, then we can pass the resolution of non-significance, which is the part 3 that gets published in the environmental notice bulletin. That'll complete the secret process for the state. Okay, so there are 18 items. Okay, first is the impact on land, and the question is that the proposed action may involve construction on or physical alteration of the land surface of the proposed site. So the answer to that is obviously yes, we're enlarging the parking lots, okay, and we're putting a walking trail in, so we're modifying the land. However, I believe that all the items listed have either no impact or a small impact. They include the proposed action may involve construction on land where depth of the water table is less than 3 feet. The proposed action may involve construction of slopes on 15% or greater. The proposed action may involve construction on land where bedrock is exposed or generally within 5 feet of the existing ground surface. The proposed action may involve the evaluation and removal of more than 1,000 tons of natural material. The proposed action may involve construction that continues for more than 1 year or in multiple phases. Proposed action may result in increased erosion, whether from physical disturbance or vegetation removal, including the treatment by herbicides. The proposed action is or may be located within a coastal erosion hazard area. So I believe that if you agree that the answer to that, all those items is either no impact or a small impact. Next is the impact on geological features. The proposed action may result in modifications or destruction of or inhibit access to any unique or unusual landforms on the site. The cliffs, dunes, minerals, fossils, caves, etc. The suggested answer is no. Impact on surface water. The proposed action may affect one or more wetlands or other surface water bodies, streams, rivers, ponds, lakes. The answer to that is obviously yes, since we're building a dock. Okay. I believe all these could be considered small or no impact. Proposed action may create a new water body. The proposed action may result in increase or decrease of over 10% or more of a 10-acre increase or decrease in the surface area of any body of water. You can read down through these. I'll give you a second to do that. So I believe that all those items are either of no impact or a small impact. Any comments on that one?
I see a couple things in here that, down near the bottom anyways, to make mention of wastewater treatment facilities. There's no wastewater treatment facility over there.
No.
So I'm saying that the proposed action may require construction of new or expansion of existing wastewater treatment facilities, and Okay, no, okay, all right.
We either,
Okay, I see
either
what
no
you're
or
saying.
small.
Okay, okay.
It doesn't, no.
Okay, so this is no or no small. Okay.
Correct. They changed this form. It used to be no.
Used to be no.
Or
Okay,
moderate. Yeah.
That's what I'm used to seeing, and it's
Yeah,
like,
no,
okay.
this is the new secret.
Okay, okay.
Impact on groundwater, there should be no impact on groundwater. Impact on flooding, yes, there'll be an impact, but it's generally a positive impact, right? You're gonna raise the bulkhead there. So, all those items are not a negative impact. Item 6, impact on air quality, no negative impact on air quality. Impact on plants and animals. There's not gonna be any significant loss of, flora or fauna. There is one area, though, in the, area behind the, existing parking lot, that there will be some tree removal. And, so we will need to get concurrence from the DEC that's okay to clear that additional land for the parking area. But that'll be a moderate impact. Next, impact on agricultural resources. The answer is no, there's no agricultural resources in that area. Impact on aesthetic resources, which the definition of that is the land use of the proposed action are obviously different from or in sharp contrast to current land use patterns between the proposed project and the scenic or aesthetic resources. I believe the best answer to that is no. Impact on historic and archaeological resources. That would be no. There's no historical or archaeological resources known in that area. Impact on open space and recreation. There's no negative impact on open space or recreation. In contrast, there's going to be a positive impact. Impact on critical environmental area. That's a definition by New York State law. This is not a critical environmental area by definition. There's no negative impact there. Item 13 is the impact on transportation. There's no negative impact on transportation. No negative impact on energy. The only real increase in energy would be if we decide to light the parking lots with high efficiency lighting. That was one thing we did include in the application. We'll have to have some more discussion on that, but that would really be the only impact to energy, increased energy usage. Impact on noise, odor, and light, no negative impacts there. No negative impact on human health, item 16. Item 17 is consistency with community plans. There's no negative consistency with community plans for the area. And no detrimental effects of community character. So those are the suggested answers. I don't know if you have any thoughts or to the contrary.
Everybody okay with it? Yep. So we need a motion to do what, Rob?
Well, so you have part 3 in front of you, and basically,
You get the sign?
I'm going to read the.
Make a motion to approve it.
Let me just have one of those, a little bit of time.
Because we're the lead agency, it's basically.
So, what you do is the part 3, you have 3 choices. First choice is this project will result in no significant adverse impact on the environment, and therefore an environmental impact statement need not be prepared according to this negative declaration issue. That's the first choice. The second choice would be, although this project could have a significant adverse impact on the environment, that impact will be avoided or substantially mitigated because of the following conditions. Or item C, this project may result in one or more significant adverse impacts to the environment, and an environmental impact statement must be prepared. So, you have 3 choices. You didn't identify any significant impact that took mitigation, or that would require even more than mitigation, more study. So, item B and C wouldn't be what you would check. I believe that if you're in agreement with the answer, you would check, item A, project would result in no significant adverse impact on the environment, and therefore environmental impact statement need not be prepared, and accordingly, this negative declaration will be. So if you're in agreement with A, resolution to that effect,
So I'll make a motion to have the supervisor check off box A.
Declare negative.
Yeah.
Impact.
Yeah.
Motion by Ron, need a second? Second by Sandy, any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? None.
so Brian, if you could sign where it says signature of responsible officer, lead agency, and date that. I'll give you this copy as well, and you can give me one and keep one for your record.
This says responsible officer. Okay, so we're all set there, Rob, with your two items? Thank you, Rob. So we'll go back to introducing the ordinances and set a public hearing for the 5 water districts. And those are numbers 1 through 5 on your agenda. You have copies of all of them in your pile of papers. I talked to the attorney about it, and he said he could just read one of these and then have it apply to all 5, which is an ordinance amending Carnegie Bay Water District ordinance to set the maintenance fee at $20.83 per quarter, to set the water rate at $7.93 per 1,000 gallons. Whereas the Town of Alexandria Water Use Ordinance for Carnegie Bay Water District requires that the town board schedule a public hearing with all district property owners at least once annually to review the administration, finances, and rate structure for the district. And whereas after a public hearing held on May 26, 2020 at 5:15, the town board of the Town of Alexandria determined the maintenance fee should be set at $20.82 per quarter, and the water rate within Carnegie Bay Water District should increase from $5.50 per 1,000 gallons to $7.93 per 1,000 gallons to ensure the Carnegie Bay Water District maintains pace with the expenses for that district for the upcoming year. Ordained that effective April 1st, 2020, the maintenance fee is set at $20.83 per quarter, and the water rate per 1,000 gallons for the users of Carnegie Bay Water District shall be in the amount of $7.93 per 1,000 gallons. So we'll do that for all 5 districts. The next one is, that was ordinance number 7, the next one ordinance number 8, amending the Redwood Water District ordinance to set the water rate at $4.33 per 1,000 gallons. Number 9, amending the Route 12 Water District ordinance to set the water rate at $7.93 per 1,000 gallons. Ordinance number 10, amending the Edgewood Water District ordinance to set the water rate at $7.93 per 1,000 gallons. And ordinance number 11, amending the Otter Street Water District to set the water rate at $5.21 per 1,000 gallons. So the purpose here is to introduce these ordinances, make them available to the public, and to set the public hearing dates and times that we, that is in these of May 26, 2020 at 5:15. So I believe I need a motion to set the public hearing dates and to start this process in motion.
So it's gonna be May 26th at 5:15?
Yep.
Okay.
And that's all we're doing here,
What's that?
the public hearing, we're not actually approving these.
Right.
No, we're just introducing the ordinances, making them available to the public,
Okay.
meeting our advertising requirements, right, Rob, with these ordinances, you've gotta, and within that allotted period, and then we'll have the public hearings, at that point that we advertise for May 26th at 5:15. So I need a motion to do that.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Sandy, second. second by Ron. Discussion?
I mean, you know, I have long-standing issues with how these things are computed, but all we're talking about here tonight
Hearing.
is just the public hearing.
That's
So I have no comment as far as,
So how's this public hearing gonna work with this deal?
What's that?
How's this public hearing gonna work with us?
Good question.
yeah.
As far as,
I mean, I've talked with Bob about this a little bit, we can do it through this process we're using. I know that, was it Bob that went to a meeting recently that they used Zoom? And he said it worked extremely well.
Have
Well,
you
no, that
ever
was
done-
you, Rob.
Have you ever personally done Zoom?
No, but he just did.
It can be a freaking nightmare. And when everybody chimes in, it can be.
Yeah,
it can
whenever
be
you
messy.
do, I mean, not an engineering issue, but whenever you do either a conference call or a Zoom meeting, you have to have some organization.
Yeah.
Somebody has to be a leader and make sure everybody gets a chance to talk, instead of everybody trying to talk at the same time. And you have to train yourselves to, you know, be respectful and not, because it is difficult. But once you get used to that form of meeting, I do think Zoom can, or that's.
I mean, one of the things we can say here is we've already done this public hearing for this, and for all 5 water districts, and it's 5 water districts. We had one person speak at the public hearing.
Sue's family does this Zoom thing, that's my only real involvement in it, and with their cousins, and there's 5 or 6 people chiming in, and every previous meeting, you know, one of these things, it's been really bad until this latest one, her brother acted like you're talking about the leader, and it's
Yeah.
okay, you talk, now you talk,
What-
now you talk.
What I would suggest is that for the public hearing, we have people text their name to you, okay? As the public hearing is going along, and then you actually say the name, and that person can start talking. So in
Yeah,
other words, the texting would go,
Yep.
create the list, so to speak.
And how do they start talking, on Zoom
You
or
tell,
on the phone?
okay,
Well, everybody else just has to be quiet, and only one person talks.
right, but if he actually
Yep.
calls the person's name out,
Yep,
and then how are we gonna hear that person?
that's a really good question, I don't.
Well,
I mean, one of the
there-
things that
there's-
we did before is we've had people call us during these meetings, and Sandy and I put them on our speakerphones, and you could hear it plain as day through the system.
Ron, Zoom has a lot of features. They're not promoting Zoom by any means, because there's other platforms you can use too. But they have features where actually the leader of the meeting can allow somebody to be, on or off mute. They have control over people that might be listening live. And there's a chat section where they can type in a question and do kind of what you're doing.
But that would be a second, laptop. Or
You'd have to have a laptop or put it on a big screen so you could all see
Because
it.
this laptop is doing this, so it'd be a second laptop for the Zoom then, right?
Yeah, it could be. It could,
Yep.
and again, you want to work the technical part of it out with somebody. But you could even have it so you each had a laptop and could see everybody. You could even do it remotely. A great example of it, if you want to go on the City of Oswego's website, go to their meeting minutes, and, they've been doing their city council, or city council meetings for the last few months on Zoom, and they record them, and then they're accessible. If you want to get a sense for how it works, yeah.
But
So
that's a legitimate question, this whole public hearing.
Yeah. Well, it could be as simple as they call your phone, you put it on speakerphone.
Yeah. Yep.
And
Yeah, and I'm sure, I think with our phones, we can hook a Wi-Fi speaker. You can connect a Wi-Fi speaker to your phone, right? And stick it here on the
Yeah,
table.
then they'll get picked up by this.
Whether that's any,
Yeah.
I mean, I know with the couple phone calls that we've had, I believe everybody heard the
Yeah,
words pretty clearly.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, so where are we at? We're in discussion, we got a motion and a second, we're in a discussion. Any more discussion?
Not on just having the public hearing, no.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, motion passed.
so that's 1 through 5, right?
Yep. And we,
So that's the May 26th meeting we're talking about?
at 5:15.
Yep.
Now, we usually, I was just gonna say, I know that if we set that at 5:15, we can have, when we adjourn this meeting, we could have our regular meeting start at the end of the public hearings. Cause sometimes it's 5:15 and then 6 o'clock, and then you got all this dead space in
Yeah.
between.
Yep. So,
So when we adjourn.
are we gonna start our meeting at 5, or are we gonna start at 5:15?
Well, according to this,
Public
these
hearing
ordinances, it says 5:15, that's why I said
That's the
that.
public hearing.
Public
When
hearing,
we have a
yeah.
public hearing, then we have our meeting.
Right, immediately following, not at 6 o'clock, that's what I'm getting at.
Well, we changed our meeting times permanently to 5 o'clock
Oh, okay,
at the last meeting, right?
okay, I
Yeah.
forgot.
Yeah.
I didn't know we did that, but okay, I know we changed the
Okay.
date.
No, I remember that now,
Okay.
yep, it
Yeah.
was done earlier.
Yes. So,
Yep.
do we start our meeting at 5 o'clock and then stop our meeting at 5:15 for the public hearing?
You're
Yep.
well, my
And go right
family.
back, so forget I said that.
Okay.
Yep.
So, what are we gonna do now again?
Start the meeting at 5, and at 5:15, wherever we're at, start the public hearings over, go back into our regular meeting,
Yep.
Okay.
so that's not an issue.
Yeah, because we've had, like Ronnie says, we've set the public hearing at 4:45. Took 3 minutes to do the public hearing and sat here for 15 minutes, so,
Right.
or vice versa, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll go to number 6, which is a resolution. We've had some situations with town records, correspondence, or papers that leaving this town office. I know that we also had a situation during FOIL requests of papers that were being looked at, come up missing, so we just thought that we should do a resolution to make it clear that no papers unless, do we wanna put an unless in there, or exception deal that you have to have permission?
I would say written permission.
Yeah.
Just
Written
a-
request,
for-
written
just
permission.
in
A record
case.
to track them,
What's that?
a record so we can track them.
Yeah.
What's leaving.
A written permission that would create that,
Yeah,
yeah.
okay, so, is that a motion, Ron?
So I'd say I'd make a resolution that, no town records, correspondence, or papers are allowed to leave the town office unless written permission is granted by the town supervisor.
Motion by Ronnie,
I'll second that.
second by John, any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Alright.
Aye,
All those opposed? None. 7 and 8, we've done. 9, status of employee record keeping for time worked and all benefit accruals. Nicole's been working on that this week quite a bit. She's got, the sheets from the highway superintendent to take care of theirs. I believe in the paychecks that went out today, that they all got a accrual log of where they stood. She's still trying to reconstruct some records, along those lines. We don't have all the adequate payroll records going back for her to reconstruct everything completely.
Why is that?
why?
Why is that?
We don't have those records, the records we're talking about had to come from the highway superintendent, cause that's the area that she's working on, because she has done all the rest of the employees for
So you're
a couple of
saying-
years.
You're saying we can't go back. Why? And I'm just asking.
Because there aren't any records,
And why is that?
because Mike doesn't have those records. After the payroll period, I believe he said that he destroys those records or throws them away.
He has, in the past, made it clear that he knows that town highway supervisor book that the state puts out. He knows it very well, he's told us. And yet, in that, it talks about the record keeping. So, why would he do that when it contravenes what that book says to do? Did he give you any reason?
No.
Okay.
I did talk to Jerry Durand, about this, wondering how it was done when he was here. Nicole had actually dug up some old records of his, and Jerry had those records, and he kept all those records.
And Mr. Tibbles is gonna start keeping those now?
Yes, he definitely started keeping those immediately, he said,
Okay.
yeah. Were we in a motion for that, or that, I guess, that's just a status. The next one is, highway superintendent to submit highway workers' new timesheets to the bookkeeper. I think I gave you, number 10 on these things is the timesheet. And we talked about this at the last meeting, but this is a timesheet that each employee will fill out, and it has the date and the time they come to work, the lunch break they take, and the time they leave work. And it requires the employee to sign it and the highway superintendent to approve it. Nicole's put this together, and she got together with Mike, and I believe they might have done a couple modifications, and this is the final copy that you see that has number 10. So we need a resolution to enact this process that we're doing here.
Do they have, like, when they're working overtime? Cause I don't see any, I see where they have machinery repair or services for governments, road maintenance, permanent improvements. Then they've got vacation time, so if they're not there, they've got vacation time, comp time, sick time, personal time. What about overtime, or there was mention that they can do the comp time, like.
So when they work and they have overtime, it's their decision as to if they wanna get paid for the overtime or they want to book the overtime or some of the overtime into comp time. The Teamsters contract has a regulation that they can only book 50 hours of overtime per year.
How do you show, how is that shown in here?
Well, that's showing what they actually worked or used.
I know.
So, and then they decide, well, let's say it was just straight time, say it was 48, you worked 8 hours, 6 days. Where do they make the decision on that 8 hours?
Show up in here.
So the sheet that goes with their paycheck, once a month, that went out today, I believe, has their log of their accruals, comp time. Okay, on the sheet that they fill out for Nicole, they will say whether they wanna get paid for that overtime or they want it to be comp time.
So that's a separate sheet than what we're looking at
Well,
right
no,
now.
because you've got CT up here, so you can put comp time on this sheet. In other words, if the total hours is 45 hours in 1 week.
You're gonna write all that information in one of these little
Yeah.
boxes.
Yeah.
That's just nuts.
That's up to Nicole. She created this sheet,
I
and
understand,
she's the
but-
one that has to interpret it.
Well, put it this
There
way.
should be a
You-
differentiation between comp time earned and comp time
taken.
used,
Used,
taken.
yeah.
I mean, that's,
Um,
there's a simpler
But
way to do this.
put it this way, we can start with this one.
Oh, yeah.
And then as she's the
has
one
a-
that has to deal with it.
yeah, she has another
If she's not happy
sheet.
with it, she can change it, and we can
because
approve a
this-
new one.
She has another sheet that she deals with right now that just has, that she gets, it has 10 hours,
This
8
is so
hours,
much simpler.
you know, type of deal. So it's all gonna be up to how she wants to design it and how she wants to interpret it.
Right.
And she's the one who put this
I
together.
know that, but I'm just saying that, the other thing too about, you know, things that, you know, they're gonna list what they did with the various amount of time. There's more than machinery repair and service to other governments, and they're gonna fit all that information in one of these little boxes.
Yeah,
It,
yeah.
Put it this
Well,
way.
like I said, that's
unless they can write
Nicole's.
really small, and it gets legible.
Well, this is a huge step forward from what we presently have, and then we can fine tune it as it
Yeah.
goes.
Okay.
When issues like you bring, you know,
Yeah,
comes up.
I just,
Yep. This is a big step forward.
So I need a motion to pass a resolution to, put this timesheet into
I'll make
use.
that motion.
Motion by Ron,
I'll second that.
second by John. Any further discussion? I mean, I understand what you're saying, Mike, and
Yeah.
I believe that,
Well, no,
I believe that this is up to Nicole, and I'm not sure whether she's listening or not, but, she can redo this
Modify it.
timesheet, or,
Yeah.
it's gonna be her job to interpret
Well, no,
it.
it's a good first step.
We can change it every month.
I'm just saying,
Yeah.
it's,
Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? None. You okay, Sandy?
Yeah, I think it's old, antiquated, with our technology nowadays, I think something much better could be done. I mean,
See, one of
it is
the,
better than nothing, but, I mean,
one of the
there's
problems is
computers over
when,
there, right? They can log in, log out. I mean, who's to say that, you know, I'm not signing in for Ronnie? You know, I just, this is
one of the
very
problems,
inadequate, in my
one
opinion.
of the problems is that it would be a union contract item for us to use a time clock. And
that's
there's,
never gonna happen.
huh?
That's never gonna happen.
Not gonna happen,
Never gonna happen.
so. Which,
But-
that would be part of the system.
A significant good step is the fact the employee has to sign the timesheet. And that kind of addresses part of what your concern is. Doesn't make it all go away. So if somebody else is filling out for you, but you sign it,
The union says they can't use a time card. They can't, you know, walk in, the old fact, I mean, they've been doing that for 50 years now. You got your little card and take it out and stick it in the machine. They don't like that?
most unions do not.
Let me ask you this, there's
never
no,
liked unions.
there's no town highway department in Jefferson County that uses a time clock?
I have no idea about
I don't know that.
I'd be curious
it. I
to
just know
that.
like this, in the world I came from,
All my
DOT,
employees
no.
use a time clock. How
No,
about
no,
you?
no.
Yeah, oh, yeah,
How about you?
They, on a computer.
yeah, but they log in, yeah.
Yeah, same thing when they
So-
log in on the computer. Or the
Aren't we negotiating right now, or maybe we didn't have that on our list?
Yeah.
So, whatever.
Me personally, if I was an employee, that would be the easiest, you know, I wouldn't have to do all this writing shit, I just, you know.
All of our other employees, or not all, but some of our other departments are using the time clock.
Right.
Yeah, but I just know most unions are
And this-
very opposed to.
This resolution is not just for the highway department, this is for all town employees,
Sure, yep.
okay? So that motion's passed, that was number 10. 11, comments about the judges, I got a thing to read here. I misspoke about the town paying the court clerks during COVID-19. The paperwork that was forwarded to the town supervisor from the 5th Judicial District Office in Syracuse via Judge Schaefer stated that the court clerks were to receive all accruals due to them and that they were not to come to work or work from home as of March 17th. At that meeting, the town attorney clarified that as to mean full pay and not work. That was not the town judge's decisions, but that.
No power.
Okay.
Or did we
Yeah,
really lose power?
Hang in
We
there.
really lost power, the whole area did.
You're-
You can hear the generator.
We're on generator right now.
You can hear it.
I know we are, but I'm just saying.
Cooking, you just don't.
We used to have meetings
You don't
where
have
that
power.
generator-
You don't either, so.
Kicked on for the.
Without any loss of power,
All right, you just have to use pen and paper.
So the whole area lost power?
yes.
You're still on live stream.
We're on?
Okay,
Okay, yeah, bye.
so you don't have to read it again unless you want to.
The whole area lost power, isn't that lovely? Don't you just love it?
So we're back on.
So I'm
We
gonna,
got generators.
start over. I misspoke about the town paying the court clerks during COVID-19. The paperwork that was forwarded to the town supervisor from the 5th Judicial District Office in Syracuse via Judge Schaefer stated that the court clerks were to receive all accruals due to them and that they were not to come to work or they are not to work from home as of March 17th. The town attorney clarified that as to mean they receive full pay and they do not work. That was not the town judge's decision, but the understanding of the town board and the town attorney to follow the prescribed guidelines from the 5th Judicial District Office in Syracuse. The town judges did nothing improper or nefarious in making these decisions and passing these papers on to us. That's number 11. Number 12, brush pit permits, commercial fees, regulations. We've got a tremendous amount of use going on at the brush pit. Everybody knows how windy it's been, and we have,
Typical spring.
I'm gonna say 3 different situations to deal with. First, the purpose of the brush pit is for the town taxpayers to use. The second is the commercial use by commercial people that are going to people and cutting their trees and bringing them big truckloads of brush to our brush pit.
Stump.
Third is the commercial people and the other people that are bringing brush to the brush pit that are not from the town of Alexandria. I was on my way to Clayton on Sunday. I was just past Fisher's Landing. I saw a car and a truck go by loaded to the brim with brush. I turned around and followed them. They went right to our brush pit. We had signs there in the past. They were torn down, or I noticed one of the sign boards that's there, it looks like the sign that was there was cardboard because the corners are ripped or still screwed in. My first suggestion is we come up with the rules that we want to run this brush pit by, and we have a couple signs made. The signs aren't very expensive. We did a couple for the transfer site last week. They're pretty reasonably priced. So we got to come up with rules of what we want to put on those signs. The other thing I was thinking is there's only one post in up there, one post that I think maybe was put in by Butcher or somebody, that maybe we put another post in up there, and that would be another place for signs. And then the question is, what does everybody want to do about commercial haulers and non-residents?
I guess the question that's come up in the past is, you have a resident who, if he cut his own tree down, could take the tree there. That would be okay, a town resident. They're older, they can't physically do it, so they pay somebody to do it. So the same tree ends up in the same brush pit, but instead of being taken there by a resident, it's taken by a commercial person. To me, if you're not from the town, you shouldn't use the pit. But the only question I've got is, if somebody commercial is taking care of a tree or brush for a resident, I've got a problem with that not being allowed to be used.
You gotta go the next step further on that, is this past week, kind of, I'm not gonna say who it was, but it's one thing, like you're saying, the example you gave was just the tree thing. You know, I could take the tree, or I pay somebody to take the tree. But some of the stuff that these commercial haulers are bringing, no ordinary resident could bring. I mean, we're talking tree stumps. That's not something I could put in the back of my pickup truck at all. You know, so that's kind of like the next step too far. But they're commercial.
So, and the one more thing that I want to say is, I know of a place that had a bunch of tree damage in the last 10 days. Some big trees came down, and they hired a tree cutter to come in and cut the tree, and the tree cutter gave a price. I'll cut the tree down, load it, and haul it, and take it away for a certain price. Or I'll cut the tree down and get it all on the ground, and you can load it, haul it, and take it away. They paid less of a price and took care of the tree and took it to the dump themselves. So, along the lines of what you're saying, Ron, when you have a person that hires somebody to do it, they're getting paid to haul that tree to the dump.
Right, but I'm saying somebody may not be physically capable.
Yep.
And it doesn't seem fair.
Yeah,
Well, let me ask you this
but
question,
no,
some of those big stumps, okay, where do those big stumps go? In other words, a town of Alexandria stump, okay, where does it go? If it doesn't go there, where does it go?
But the example Brent gave kind of answers that question. I'm paying somebody extra to do
Yeah.
this for me.
I'm not,
Okay,
yeah,
so, and then they're going to get rid of it for free.
right, which
okay.
they'd be able to get rid of for free if they did it themselves.
So I'm just saying that the whole, once you cross the line, it becomes a commercial enterprise. That draws to me, it's a distinction, whether it's the same tree or not. I'm paying somebody to do something, so that the fee that he charges is, there's other fees, other costs involved, and in our case, a small fee that we charge to put that tree in that same pit.
To me, it's where the tree originates from, makes the difference for me.
I'm with Ronnie, because for example.
How do we know?
Here's the problem, I know, a couple of years ago, I've seen stuff come in from Cannon. Know it came from, in our brush pit. I've seen stuff from Fisher's Landing come in there. There's the problem, they're bringing stuff from other towns in.
Yeah,
How do we know?
that shouldn't happen.
That's what,
That's
that's
gotta be
it,
stopped.
it's for the town of Alexandria.
Right.
But, here's the problem, how do you monitor it and stop it? We can put signs up, but are they gonna pay attention? That's
Not only
where
that-
the problem comes in.
Not only that, but usually to try to enforce anything or to try to get something to stop, you have a penalty if you don't obey. So that means, I believe, you probably would have to do some type of a local law to institute a penalty or a fine for somebody from another township bringing it here.
And it's gotta be stiff enough where it's not just the cost of doing business.
No,
And then how do you enforce this?
Yeah.
what's
Right.
that?
How do you- I mean, I know the people were brought in both times. But am I gonna go up and issue them a ticket? I don't have a gun and a badge, you know?
Yeah.
I think the only possible way that I come up with it, enforce it, and I can remember what John's talking about, is there was board members, there was town employees, there was all kinds of people that were calling all the time because they saw vehicles coming from other townships going to our dump with stuff. And they called and people went down there and we chased them and talked to them and told them they couldn't do it, and there was a bunch of stuff that went on like that. So that's pretty much, that's not a valid system, right? The other thing you could do, which again, I think would have to be, you'd have to have an ordinance or you'd have to have a local law or whatever the attorney tells us, is you could put cameras down there that monitor it. And I've been looking at cameras, and you can put cameras down there for $100 or $150 a camera that are attached to a cell phone network and are motion activated. So if you create these rules and these regulations and these laws, or whatever the heck it is you have to do, and you have people that violate it, I believe you could probably have it set up so you have a license plate number.
Is there a monthly fee on this $100 camera?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, unless we have a human being out there, that's the only thing we can do, really.
I mean, it's really a phone tied to a camera. It's $150, the fancy one, or the one that does everything. It's got the, well, first of all, it was tied, there's ones that are a little bit cheaper, but they were tied to networks that I never heard of. This one's tied to Verizon. So, you know it's gonna have reception down there. And it's motion detective, it has a sensitivity adjustment. It's got a 150-foot range on that. You're gonna need more than one. And you, it alerts you, it sends a message just like our GPS devices. They send us a message that there's movement. You could go on, you can view that movement, and you could probably have it set up so you could record that movement.
Let me ask you this, for every $1,000 we spend on cameras, what are we saving on the other end? In other words, if we do this, it's gonna reduce the amount coming in an ideal situation, because it'll stop coming from outside. How does that translate? In other words, value-wise?
I guess the biggest thing that I can say that I'm worried about with haulers, and this is, I've had a lot of talks with our highway superintendent about this. And his biggest complaint to me, and I understand where he's coming from, is that the commercial haulers are just unloading load after load after load. And some of them are not unloading it very far from the edge of the road. One of the issues we have with that area down there is that over half of the area is real steep. There's an area at the end that isn't so steep, okay? If you've got a dump truck and you've got it full of stumps and trees, you're not gonna go in that steep area and raise your box up. Cause you're gonna end up,
Joining it, yeah.
you know, so suppose you got 3 or 4 people that go there on a Friday and they dump it, and it gets close to the road. That gets out by the edge of the road. Then where it affects the town of Alexandria is on Fridays, Saturday, and Sundays. Mike, and obviously the guys and girls from the town board are watching this thing, have been watching it very closely for the last week or two. Then, because his men only work 4 days a week, on Friday, Saturday, and or Sunday, all 3 of those days, he could have to, if he determines that's dangerous because it's on the edge of the road, call people in for overtime. And that's overtime. So they work, and a call-in is a minimum of 2 hours.
Right.
I don't know what's the answer.
That would be the savings, that
Yeah,
hopefully.
that would be the savings.
Yeah. But still doesn't change, like if cause I just think that if a commercial hauler working for a town of Alexandria resident should be able to use that, just personally.
Yep. Yep.
So let me ask you this, where would, if it wasn't allowed, where's that stump gonna go? It's gotta go somewhere.
There's other brush pits.
Well, this
Where
is-
are they? And what are their rules?
I'm not sure, we need to find that out.
Well, see, that basically.
And one of the problems with these other brush pits, or I say problems, I believe it's Clayton, Orleans, and maybe, Rob, you know about this, but the brush pit is connected to the transfer site, and you have to go through the gate.
Correct, that's the way we're.
So it has to be open. That's the way Orleans is. Do they charge for brush?
Clayton too, I don't think they charge, I know Clayton has a pile, and then the guys chip it periodically, make mulch that they give away, from time to time, or they did do that, I'm not sure if they still do it. With Orleans, I'm not sure what Orleans.
But it's physically monitored.
But.
Yeah, it's like Brent said, it's only, you can only take brush there when the gates are open.
Well, it's like the example that Brent and John both gave, of these people coming from other towns. They're coming from other towns to here for a reason. Either there isn't a place for them in their particular town, or this one just happens to be
Well,
full.
I have no problem banning anyone
Well, no,
from
no,
outside the town.
you're just asking, you know.
Well, no, I'm asking what happens to a town of Alexandria stump that a commercial hauler needs to get out because it's too big for the homeowner. Where does that physically go?
What do you do with stumps when you push them out of the ground?
I didn't wanna tell you.
Well, no, you bury them and wherever, you know.
Well, these haulers take them someplace, even not telling
Well, no,
them,
that's what
they're in
I'm-
business, I mean, that's their
It's gotta
problem.
go somewhere.
They can't bring it to us, they'll have to take it to wherever they go.
And I just think that if it started in the town of Alexandria, it can end up in the town of Alexandria.
Hard fill wanted.
Well, that's not considered hard fill.
No.
Yeah. Anyway,
I had one idea, I thought about this a couple times, but I don't think that's a big step in the whole deal, is that if we were able to create a brush pit area at our transfer site.
but isn't that site we've got perfect for what we use it for?
Yep.
I don't, like.
One of the things we always get worried about with our brush pit is that, and Mike's told me this to verify, and I've seen it and I've heard about it, and John, I think you've heard about it, and that is that sometimes they put stuff in the brush pit that isn't brush or
yeah.
trees
We get
or
written
stumps.
up for it,
What's that?
and we get written up for
And
it.
we can get written up for it,
We can shut down.
And we can get shut down,
Like old stoves and anything, garbage.
which
Yeah.
is a
Which
reason.
the cameras would take care
you
of
know,
that.
And we obviously can't afford to put a little building down there and have hours and have somebody there, that's real crazy.
Right. The cameras, can we authorize you to check into the cost of the camera system?
Yeah, but then I think we gotta, I don't know if that's the answer, only because we gotta talk to Bob Sly, we gotta go into an enforcement mode.
And
to
the
have it.
problem you're gonna have with that is, if they know that our rule is, if it's a tree from Alexandria Bay and they're a hauler, and you get their picture and you go down to the police station and say, run this tag for me, and you send them a notice, they're gonna say, I cut the tree down over at so-and-so's house.
Yeah, good
You know, and
point.
then you gotta prove that it came from somewhere else.
Yep, good point.
Call so-and-so, you just have a,
Yeah.
you know,
I'm just saying, you get people there that don't care about what they're doing, and they dump that stuff on the shoulder of the road on a Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. It costs us money.
Right. Well, cameras are the only way you're gonna even know who did it, if they do that.
On this note, I just need to say this too, is it come to my attention, and our town highway superintendent accused me of dumping brush on the road at the brush pit. I can tell you that did not happen, it never happened, I've never done it. And in fact, the day that he said I did it, I had a witness in my vehicle that's more than willing to say, I didn't do that at all. I never do that. I just wanna make that, I wanna be around public with this, that's a bunch of crap. If you're gonna lie, come up with a better one.
Anyway, do we wanna use cameras, or how else? It's a remote, it's an unattended area. So the only way we're ever gonna have any kind of control over it, signage, I think, makes a lot of sense.
So if we're gonna use cameras, are we gonna allow commercial haulers that are hauling things from the town of Alexandria residents? That's what you
Personally,
want.
I would like to see that, yeah. But I'd like to see two big signs that you can't miss, and two cameras shooting from two different
So
directions.
I say we set some regulations, and we have some signs made, and the signs, first of all, they gotta also say on them that you have to dump off the shoulder of the road.
As far off of the road as you possibly can.
Well,
As you reasonably.
shoulder is 8 or 10 feet from the edge of blacktop. I even thought about going down there and having something put down through, except for it's all dirt and stone.
It's a bad spot.
And it's a bad spot is right, because if somebody dumps something on the shoulder, it's out into the road, and they come over that hill,
Oh, your history.
we got a liability issue.
Well, if you did something, think about a golf course, when they mark the out of bounds, there's a couple of stakes,
Yeah.
they're not close together,
No, that's a good point.
and then basically, if it's right up to that, it's full.
Dump behind the stakes.
It's full.
Yeah,
You either gotta dump on the other side of those stakes, or it's full.
Well,
That's a
how many-
good
How
idea.
many times I'm not, a reasonable person wouldn't do stupid things. But how many times have you ever seen the transfer site closed, and somebody said, show up and it's closed, and they just toss their bag over the fence, and it ends up in a place where it shouldn't? That happens.
Cameras.
Got cameras.
The cameras
Okay,
there.
I'm just
But I like
saying,
Ronnie's
people-
idea, if we have the signs and you get posts, anything that's dumped must be behind this point.
Right,
Yep.
That's your invisible line between the two signs.
That's a good idea, and you got
Yeah.
cameras to,
We don't have a sign though that says dump back as far as you can.
Well, that's what I mean, if they put some.
we just-
I've been by there several times and that was pushed off and it was fairly level and they could have backed in and there'd be a pile right up by the road and there was lots of room for them to go back farther.
right.
Last weekend, I saw a guy with a four-wheeler, I know it was, no names, with a trailer, come up through and dump right up by the road. That four-wheeler, he went back, of course, up just a little bit. So, I mean, we gotta have a sign that says, try to make it so they can get back farther, so they can't get in trouble. A sign says, please dump back as far as you can, because I've seen them dump right up by the road, and there was no reason to.
Well, if we put the posts in there, and the sign talks about that, they've gotta go past those,
Yep.
which would prevent that. Well, it won't prevent it, but at least then we've got cameras that verify who did it or whatever.
And we can dump on top of the brush, and through the years, if we have fill to get rid of, and make it back farther away from the road. I know,
Right.
I know, because I know where I
so,
dumped.
I guess at this point then, I'll ask you guys to give me permission to, put some posts in down there, which I think to put posts in properly, I either gotta have somebody drive some steel, or else
A post
dig
like what's
a
out
hole and pour some
there.
concrete.
A post like the one that's out there now.
I wasn't thinking that big, that's a 7-inch
I'm just saying.
round pipe that you put docks in with.
Oh, no, that's what I thought you were driving, because if we just put something small.
Yeah.
it's
But you're
gonna
not,
go-
I don't know that you're gonna be able to pound it in the ground, I think you might wanna dig a little hole and put some concrete around it.
Okay,
Or if you had a good concrete block with
That's an
a
idea.
pipe already in it.
That's an idea, you could buy those concrete blocks from Jefferson Concrete.
yeah,
We
yeah,
could set that with.
that's a
that
better
big
idea,
hole.
What's that?
We could set that with their hole.
that's a
Yeah.
better idea.
That's a
Dig
better
down,
idea.
Set it in.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep,
And then if you had to do a lot of work up there, you could set it off to the side and
Yep.
put it back.
yep.
That's a better idea, way better.
Okay. So, is that okay with you guys if I pursue that, and I'll
Yep.
send you information as to what we're doing and so on?
Okay.
Okay, so that's, number 12, 13, transfer site discussion for permits and fees for non-town residents. Okay, I just wanted everybody to know that the reason we raised those prices, was because, we discussed at a meeting in public the losses for the last 3 years. And that was just 3 years. I think obviously there's been a loss there every year. And that's the reason that it's been over 20 years, according to Byron, since those rates have been changed. And, you know, we're dealing with some issues, as we talked about earlier, with having no loose items. We're thinking about, we'll put some bags up there for people that have stuff and they haven't read the signs or haven't read the paper, to try to make that a little bit better. The end solution to this whole deal is weighing the bags, as we all said earlier. So, we've looked into that, we'll continue looking into that. The couple things that are going on up there, and I talked to Jesse about this, and the town used to have a policy that non-town residents could dump at the transfer site. And they had to come here and they had to get a permit to do that, and I say permit, they had to get a decal. Well, the decal was a generic decal that somebody had made up. It didn't have anything on it except for Town of Alexandria transfer site permit. My suggestions are, it has the year on it, and they have to renew that every year. And you treat it just like we treat our signs at the arena. Every year, a month or two before the year ends, you send everybody who's gotten a permit before, because you've got their name and address and information. You send them a letter to renew their permit. If they don't want to renew it, they don't get it. And those decals have the year on them. And I think with the decal, I was thinking that you give them a card too, because suppose they don't come in their vehicle or so on and so forth. You don't want to, but you want to be careful that they don't give that card to their neighbor. So, I guess we could just stick with the decal.
Yeah.
Or what's everybody's thoughts? I mean, I talked with Sandy a little bit about this, and we both have seen a bunch of people that we know that don't live in this town that use our transfer site. I have a relative that lives in Hammond, and when she told me she goes there every Sunday, I said, "Oh, you do?" I said, "Do you ever get questioned or whatever?" No. So.
Well, if we get the scale deal going, so we at least get as much out of it as it's cost to get rid of it, that wouldn't be such a big issue either.
Well, my theory here is that we don't wanna turn people away. We'll take people's money from Hammond and from Fisher's Landing and
As
from.
long as we can at least break even on it.
Yeah, we don't wanna turn them away.
Who cares?
They buy a permit at the town office for $25 and they can take all their $6 bags they want to the dump and pay $6.
See, the problem is.
Or
right
pay
now-
X amount of pound.
Right now, it costs us more to get rid of it than we're getting.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's why we don't want people from down the town. If we get it changed, so at least we
I
can break
think,
even, like we can deal with
I
it.
think that's changed with this pricing we're at now.
Yeah, well, I think the scale will really
But the
change.
scale make it, it doesn't matter where the garbage is coming from, the tonnage takes care of itself.
Right.
And if, as I think you mentioned, if we charge a little bit more than what the cost is, actually, the more, if we had people from Hammond coming in there, it would actually help keep the cost down.
Yeah. Yeah, more customers and lower
Yeah.
cost of, yeah.
As long as we charge more than what it costs us.
Because we went through all the figures for the tonnage that we have up there. And we took all the tonnage and we took all the hauling, we took the whole budget, which is $156,000 of expenses on that profit and loss. And we took the whole deal and we divided it and we figured it out by the tons that we use. And I think you would base your price per pound according to the $156,000 it costs you.
Right, I mean, you've got, like, 2,000 pounds costs you X to get rid of.
Yep.
And then you got all the fixed costs there. So the more tonnage that goes there to pay for that fixed cost, it'll actually be a benefit to the people that live in the town.
Yep. Yep.
So, yeah, I wouldn't have a problem with that. So, I mean, the
So,
quicker,
if this-
then we haven't gotta pay for stickers or anything else.
If this scale situation isn't gonna go into action, I can't really see it unless we do a big rush job on this thing being into action for the summer. And one of the things that one of the reasons we're holding back is because we've cut budgets in every direction there is. So,
This is
what
a
are we
good
doing
investment, though.
what are we doing for the time being?
This is a good investment. Well, in the time being, we changed the price on the bags,
Yeah.
so that was the time being to take care of the shortfall.
Yeah.
And then the permanent fix is a small building there with a scale.
And what about the non-residents,
Once we
for the
have.
time being?
Well, they're paying at least they're paying higher per bag than they were.
Everybody okay with that?
I think it's gonna be just tough to, either we make everybody in the town have a sticker, and then we've gotta have the cost of that and the inconvenience of that
Yeah.
in order to keep the few that are coming from outside.
And there's always, I mean, I don't go to the transfer site like I used to, but I can. And so if I'm not a regular user, I'm not gonna get this renewed sticker every year, so I have to go, I probably go up there and Byron say, hey, you don't have a sticker in your car. And I'd say, hey, I live here, you know.
I think the sticker idea, I like the idea of having the year on it. And I think the beginning of the year, when the taxes go out, there should be a sticker for your car, at least one per household, that gets sent out. No extras, you know, it should be at the first of the year. Then if you're an out-of-town resident, that's the time when they'll start to get identified, and you need to get a sticker, an out-of-town sticker that's okay for this year, and you pay, cause I'll tell you what, other towns, they don't allow you to. Because when I was living in, Lafargeville, the Theresa landfill was right, like 4 miles from my house. I just thought that's where I was supposed to go. And I went, and then I wrote them a check to get a whole bunch of stickers, so when I came, I just put my stickers on my bags. Well, when my check went to the town clerk's office, I got a phone call that said, don't even use those stickers. I don't care if you paid for them, don't come back. You're not a resident, you go to Orleans. And I was like, wow. She says, you're on the other side of 81, you better not show up here again. And they didn't let me come back. I'm just saying.
I think
The dump is not supposed to be a profit-making thing.
Nope.
It's for our residents, but they shouldn't all be paying for it, just the ones who are using it.
Right.
And they shouldn't be getting overcharged. And so, if out-of-towners wanna come here, I do think they should have a $25, $50, I'll tell you what, power is out everywhere. My phone is blowing up. It's out in Clayton, it's out in Lafargeville,
Yeah.
it's out in Redwood. Apparently somebody hit a pole in Clayton. It's not a good one.
must be by a substation.
Yeah.
So, going back to that,
But I don't think that's something we can implement until the beginning of the year.
yeah.
But
We got a lot of stuff at the beginning.
I mean, just to clarify what Sandy said, that I wanna make sure the public understands here, is she said a key word, and that is that this dump has been operating, transfer site has been operating at a $50 or $60 or $66,000 loss. So the town taxpayers, 4,400 people, are subsidizing the loss at the transfer site. The 4,400 people don't use the transfer site. Probably a fraction of the people use the transfer site. You take the people on Wellesley Island, I bet there's not very many people on Wellesley Island that drive over here with their trash to the transfer site. So our whole purpose with this price increase was about this deficit, which is substantial. And I don't think the dump should operate at a profit either, but I'd like to see it be close to break even.
Right.
Right.
And it's the same thing as our water and sewer departments that is recovered by law to be self-sustaining. Well, why shouldn't the transfer site be self-sustaining? I think it should be.
We're heading in that.
So that's where we're coming from.
But I don't know, kinda like what you're coming from, is, I know, kinda where I grew up in the town of Colton, my parents have a sticker to go to the transfer site. I don't know how they get it, maybe just like how you're describing it, And I know where they are down at Fort Myers, they have a sticker there as well.
Usually it's not the out-of-town people that have it, everybody has it.
So I'm saying, I don't
I'm
know
gonna
how
have
they
to
got
call
it,
my
but they
store
got it
that's
just like you, how
powers
you
off.
describe it.
I've had a couple phone calls from there.
May have just gone out to every single town tax-paying parcel, got a sticker. Whether you use it or not, that's your choice.
Exactly, and that's
I
the
don't know
thing,
how
if it
they-
went out in the town taxes, everybody who's got a parcel, they get a tax bill.
I
Just
don't-
send them a sticker, and whatever car you think, and if you need an extra one, and you stop by, we'll give you an extra one if you got 2 vehicles.
Fort Myers is Lee County, and their car is this little sticker, Lee County, and there's a number on it too. So I don't know how they got it though, but it could very well, just like you described.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, they used to have the resident stickers here, so I'm sure it would be very easy to get something
Yep.
made up.
And then Byron doesn't have to worry about, I mean, everybody has a sticker. And so if somebody from Hammond has this, well, they wouldn't.
They wouldn't get one.
They wouldn't get one.
So then he would say, you can't dump here unless you go to the town and get a permit.
Right. And if they come here, they can't prove residency, they don't get a sticker. Make it easy as possible on whoever's at the transfer site.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, the residency end of it would be tax roll.
Well, that's the easiest.
Yeah, that's, oops,
He's
done.
still here, why didn't he leave? Why is he still here, why didn't he leave?
I know, 'cause otherwise,
Probably because impolite to leave, I don't know.
Well, that's why we bumped him ahead.
right.
I mean, I don't care, he can stay, but I just figure it's a waste of his time. I'm gonna use the bathroom while he's there. 5-minute break, everybody.
Good idea.
Go get another beer, if you're watching.
You can head out, you know.
I'm going to.
Go ahead.
Mike, these are plans that were submitted to the DEC for the Route 12 sewer.
Oh, really?
They went in a while ago, so it's I didn't print the specs.
No, but,
This is just a DEC submission, okay, so it's not cast in stone. but-
you know, talk to, thank you. But a question on this one. Is, I was talking to, Dale Rainbow, we talked about all kinds of different stuff, and, he's kinda doing, you know, I don't know, the contact information for the town of Orleans for, I guess, a
Right,
lot
yeah,
of.
I know Dale, yeah, I work with him.
And going knocking on doors and stuff like that. But what, you know, for this kind of thing, just use this for example, did we go down Point Vivian at all, or over into those, you know, but I'm afraid of what's gonna happen.
I've got a board meeting right now,
Potentially gonna happen.
I think towers are gone all over.
Contractor shows up, you know, and starts putting pipe in the ground and stuff like that, and next thing you know, we get somebody.
We're on a pause right now.
I'll go through it with
That's
you.
why I just shut you off
The
the
whole
call.
district formation
We-
process.
We don't have power here, we
had
got a
everybody in it,
standby by
but
generator.
it wasn't the cost benefit.
I think power's off all over, I don't know why.
St. Lawrence part was.
Well, the reason I say that too, is one of the many things I've been working on, you know, like.
It's a huge area of power company.
Yeah, see, like Redwood Water,
Char said it was
Is-
supposed to hit, she heard an announcement somewhere it was gonna be at least 2 hours, cause she closed the roadhouse.
Gonna be what?
At least 2 hours, cause she closed the roadhouse.
Did she say somebody hit a pole?
Somebody else texted me and said they hit a pole.
Well, I hope that's it, because that's easy.
Cape Vincent to Chippewa is what I just heard,
Yeah,
according to the map.
that's what the map looks like.
Keep Vincent to Chippewa.
Redwood Water in, just use this for example, you know, go all the way, all the way to, hit Route 37, go left and right, and they go back, and they get to kind of, you kind of see.
So that means
Well, how's
people
it
who are
gonna
watching
stop?
us at home,
But if you
computers
it's like that.
are
that
plugged in,
farmhouse,
they're not,
it's like
it
a
limits it to
farmhouse,
cell phone and,
only distance away from the last Redwood.
No,
Battery on your
or
computer.
Battery on your computer, but they can always go back and watch.
300
the video.
yards, they're hooked up. They're in the water district, but if you look at the septic rolls, they are not. And I bet you, if you look at the district,
Yeah.
so, I'm not saying that's bad, more customers are better, but
I can go, I'd be happy to go through this.
I'm just afraid
someday.
next thing you know, because if we're gonna use the assessment rolls, which are based on the district boundaries for our benefit assessment charge, we need to have the district boundaries, which include everybody that's actually in the district.
I'll go through that someday. We
get a discount on that, Ron?
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, it's bought in bulk.
Did you?
Got some coming with Uncle Sam on them.
How much is a little bottle of?
I sell them for $1. Lasts longer than you think.
I'm out of here then. We good? You good with me?
Thank you, Rob.
Is that from the distillery?
Yeah,
Yeah, I have, it's like you can get like 6 for $5 or something like that?
yeah.
Yeah, and it's like an honor system up front, I've done it, except you smell like you've been drinking.
Doesn't smell bad. Can't tell the difference then.
Okay, so we're,
Oh, see,
we did brush pit, we
On
did
to 14, I guess.
transfer site, I guess we're gonna stay the way we're at for right now, right? And we're gonna try to
Well, you're gonna
look into the weight,
into the concrete blocks and
Yes.
the cameras.
yeah,
You gotta shut that door?
I don't know, if I left it open for a reason.
I kinda like hearing the birds.
Yeah. I think he probably thought there was a closer on it.
the, number 14, new recycling hauling charges from Jefferson County. Well, we're talking about how we're losing $60,000+ at the transfer site. Well, as of a month or so ago, Jefferson County is now charging us every time they haul our recyclables away. It was free because there was some value in the recyclables, so they got the recyclables, they hauled it for free. Now they're charging us $50 a haul, and they haul one haul a week. So you're talking $2,600 or so additional charge, and I'm just throwing that out there just so everybody knows, and that's public information. Not that I wanna change the prices anymore, but there's another charge that just changed. Number 14 is IMA changes. Mike and Ronnie and I and Rob Campany have met 2 or 3 times about this. I thought about, we'll try to get this thing narrowed down to what we're gonna do. We're gonna try to make it as simple as possible. We're gonna put the Otter Street Water District in the IMA agreement. The Otter Street Water District is gonna get a wheeling charge paid to it by Route 12 and Orleans and Clayton. I believe Orleans and Clayton is really gonna be together. It's just gonna be one charge because
No, I talked to Dale.
Orleans is treating Clayton as
No, they're
an
gonna,
extension.
they're gonna have a master meter between the two of them.
You're gonna have, yeah. So, how they do that is their situation. We'd just like to redesign this with the proper wording in it and have Otter Street in there along with Route 12, where right now I think it says Town of Alexandria and Route 12.
It was just, yeah, the Route 12 Water District is the only one that's called out.
Mike and I have spent some time going through our master meter readings to get some gallon figures for what every place, each district is going through, and looked at the wheeling charge, and I think we're pretty close to having an agreement on a wheeling charge for Otter Street to get some of the wheeling charge. I think we're real close to doing that. I actually called the supervisor for the town of Orleans and talked to him about it. He seemed agreeable.
So the wheeling charge would be based on the master meter over by Price Chopper?
No,
Really based on all of them.
Everybody's individual master meter.
Right, but I mean,
All the water comes out of, all the water that ends up, say in Clayton, goes through the Otter Street master meter.
right, what I'm saying is, the wheeling charge would be based on the master meter that's located out by Price Chopper.
No, it's everyone, every master meter.
Every master
Every
meter.
master meter.
Because there's these districts as you go up the road, and there's these master meters that set them apart.
Right, but my
So-
understanding is the one on Otter Street, okay, all the water goes through that.
Yep.
And Otter Street's not gonna do a wheeling charge to itself,
No.
No.
okay? So then the next one is the one that dictates Route 12,
No, it goes
minus
backwards.
the other one.
It goes backwards.
So in other words,
So I guess I'm
the
trying to
water,
understand.
the water that goes between Route 12 and Price Chopper, which is really Orleans, we're gonna call it, there's a volume of water that goes through there. There's a different volume of water that goes through Otter Street master meter to Route 12 master meter. This is what we did the other day. We figured out all these volumes.
Well, I guess I'll make it simple. Route 12 is gonna pay a wheeling charge to Otter Street.
Yes.
Okay, so Town of Alexandria to Town of Alexandria.
No, districts.
No,
It's not the
okay.
town, you have to, you have to, you have to
Yeah,
kinda
yeah.
get.
Wrong choice of words. Okay, the Route 12 Water District is going to pay a wheeling charge to the Otter Street District.
Correct.
Okay, that's,
But
I don't
let's
need
go
any more,
further.
I don't need any more clarification.
You don't?
I got it now.
You don't wanna know that Orleans
Nope.
is gonna pay Route 12 and Orleans is gonna pay Otter Street?
No, I'm
Okay,
fine.
okay, yeah, so that's where we're at.
Okay,
And I think we're pretty close to finalizing that, don't you, Mike?
That's
The
legitimate.
billing situation about who bills who for water, that may not be taken care of in this deal right now, because that's more complicated. And not only that, but the town is trying
And in a
to
funny
find
way-
out more about the billing.
In a funny way, and we just today, you know, with Jamie and Dale, how the ramifications of this, is how the village does it now. They read the Otter Street Water District master meter, and then they go down the road and they read the Route 12 master meter, and they subtract the two, okay? And in previous years, it didn't matter because of the water rates were the same. Now they are not. So how this breaks things down is there are a bunch of users downstream of the Route 12 Water District that are Otter Street. What the village is gonna charge us is a much higher rate for everything going past that Route 12 master meter district. If you look carefully at what we're gonna bill those Otter Street Water District members is far less. So we're not even gonna be recouping, if left the way it is now. You see where I'm going with this? That's one more reason why they should not be doing what they're doing. Because we're gonna be paying more for the water than we sell it for, based on these rates.
well, we've gotta raise the rates when they raise it, but I'm just saying
No,
that,
you're missing what I'm saying.
I am, I guess.
Yeah. So,
Everything downstream of the Route 12 Water District meter
Right,
will
has a
be
different
charging
rate.
$7.93.
Yes,
Even though there are, I think it's like 14 or 20 Otter Street users on their side of that meter, which we charge $5.21.
you're talking about that small group of,
Yeah.
okay.
So that's how much we charge. So our revenue is not gonna match up with our expenses,
Yeah,
because the
but-
village is charging us this.
yeah, but if the village is computing the water correctly,
They're not. We just verified it today, right?
how'd you verify it?
Don't you remember Jamie?
Did you have somebody from the village here that
No,
told you?
Jamie and Dale, first Jamie was saying this didn't make sense. And then they both kinda sat down and worked it out, yeah. But they're subtracting the meter readings for those two master meters. And then they're,
Aren't they reading all 14 of those?
They should be,
Houses at the same time?
they should be subtracting those 12 or 14.
they're not.
They used to be.
No, they never have. Never.
I don't know, what Jamie said, once he was all done with everything, that it all worked out and the numbers were right.
For those two master meters. But it doesn't reflect the reality of the situation. We have a different rate for a bunch of users.
You can't do it unless you read all 14 of those
The village
users.
doesn't have access to those. They only can look at the master meter.
I realize that, but there's,
Jamie can give them those numbers.
right.
Why bother? Just have them read the Otter Street master meter and that's the end of it.
Because there's two different rates involved. And you think that's gonna change right now?
Well, that's another one of my things.
That ain't changing right now.
But-
No, I know it's not.
I'm
So
just
you
saying-
need to read those other 14.
Right, but they don't, and they never have. It's
Well,
never.
we should be.
Why?
And then pass it on, because otherwise those 14 are gonna get overcharged. Or that whole district's gonna get overcharged.
Here's the deal. We get a bill from them, right?
Yep.
I mean, hopefully they'll cooperate with us and realize that those 14 meters that will provide them those numbers are at a different rate, a
Right.
lower rate, not a higher rate,
Right.
correct?
It is, right there.
It is there on paper, but you're saying that they're not doing that on the bill we get.
Nope.
Well, then let's us do it. And
Exactly.
we'll subtract it from the bill when we pay it, and we'll send them a copy of
The
our
documentation.
you know.
Okay, so we're gonna send them, and I'm not disagreeing, I'm not trying to start a fire here or anything like that. But we're gonna get a bill from them for this much.
Yep.
But we're gonna send a check back to them for this much, because
With the documentation.
I mean, hopefully they'll understand that these places are in a different district. And we can prove that they're in a different district by our district maps.
My understanding is they're already aware of it
I
because
thought
they
they were
used
too.
to do it.
We could take it even the next step further, if we really wanna complicate things.
No, we don't.
Well, okay, but, no, I'm serious, that's how crazy this gets. For 75% of the Otter Street Water District, the pressure, all that kind of stuff is generated by the village. For these people on the other side of the Route 12 Water District, that are on the meter, that are on the Otter Street, their pressure is all generated by a pump in that building. So they shouldn't even be paying this much.
The town created that situation, because initially, okay, all 14 of them were all provided pressure from the village of Alexandria Bay. It wasn't until the Route 12 Water District went in
Yeah,
that
you're right.
changed.
Yep.
So that was the town of Alexandria that created that, not the village.
Okay, but
There's no point even talking about that.
the
Yeah.
billing, it's
Yeah.
not right, just not right.
Okay? So we hope to get that figured out in the next week, right, Mike?
Okay.
We need to read those 14 meters, real simple.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. 16, interfund transfer. Something that the town of Alexandria has never done before properly. And, we're doing it now, and that is interfund transfer. So Carnegie Bay operated at a deficit, was the only water or sewer district this year, in 2019, to operate at a deficit. There's no fund balance in Carnegie Bay, so that means, where's the money come from to pay the bills? Well, the money comes from General A. It was $450, where's that fit? $409.58. So, to be legal and proper, we have to make a motion, interfund transfer from the town of Alexandria General Fund A to Carnegie Bay Water District for that amount of money to pay those bills. Part of this agreement is that the comptroller's office requires that you pay those funds back within the year. So, part of our agreement, and these rates have been changed to cover that
That
deficit.
$20.83, that was to take care of that.
2083. And that's part of the reason the rate was changed. So at the end of the year, there should be a fund balance that we can pay the $409.58 back to General Fund A.
And in the past, districts ran at a deficit, it just got paid with no acknowledgement, it just came out of General A.
Tens of thousands of dollars.
Right. Now, this
No
acknowledges that we know it happened, it's authorized, and it's gonna be repaid.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, when the comptrollers were here, they saw the districts that were running at deficits, so they went to our minute book.
Yeah.
And they asked, they said, where is it in the minutes that you transferred the funds to pay the bills?
Right.
Town never has ever done that.
I'll make a motion for this resolution.
So this is authorized the interfund transfer from Town of Alexandria General Fund to Carnegie Bay in the amount of $409.58. This is a resolution that we're just proposing this resolution and making this document available to the public. This will be, does it have the public hearing on it in this too?
No, this is just a interfund transfer. And my only question on here, it says page 1 of 2, I think it should say page 101.
Yeah.
No, the two is the, you didn't get it, it's the roll call vote.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So is this?
This doesn't need any hearing, this is just, I mean,
That's a resolution.
nothing's gonna change the fact that the 409.58 needs to be transferred.
Yeah. Okay, so I need a motion. You said the motion, Ron? Seconded by who?
I'll second that.
By Mike? Any further discussion? So this is a resolution, number 1, May 6, 2020, as it reads. Any discussion? No? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
You know, roll
Aye.
call?
Oh, yeah, okay, we'll do roll call. Brent Sweet, yes. Ron Thompson?
Yes.
John Stein?
Yes.
Mike Fayette?
Yes.
Sandy Caputo?
Yes.
Motion passed. 16. 17 is the DOT shared deal. That's got number 17 on it. This, Mike has a lot of experience with these agreements. He's read through this thing, and he agrees 100% that this is normal operating procedure. This is something that we're supposed to do every year. Any other?
It's a real good idea that, I don't say the problem, it's like the devil's in the details is, it's a shared, obviously it's a shared service agreement, so it can go both ways. You know, so if the resident engineer, you know, that's, you know, they're talking about the RE over here, says, hey, you know, we have this agreement, and yet what you have to do is you have to list everything that you're willing to share. And that's what all this is. So it's a lot of work for our highway superintendent to do all this. It's not a hard thing or a bad thing. The DOT obviously has to do it from their side. But what it does is it lets both sides know what's available to be shared. And it's an annual thing.
Okay, so I need a motion.
Either 2 years or 4 years.
Okay, but I don't know. I had something, I think I had a bunch of things like this.
Well, if there was only, I would guess that 2 or 4 years comes in, whether the supervisor is it, because I'm assuming that Mike would be signing this, right? As the highway superintendent?
No, I think it's the
Municipality.
So I would think the difference between that 2 and 4 year would be how much time do you have left on your
2.
2, so.
1 3/4.
I think 2 would be a better idea anyway. I think things
Yeah.
change, things happen.
But the third page, or fourth page, whatever happens, this is the important page. What services and equipment, that kind of stuff you're willing to share.
Okay.
Who's gonna determine that?
Well, that would be in this case, well, everything that's in the highway department, obviously the highway superintendent. There may be other things that we may have, say the DPW.
How can you come up with an estimated cost, or what's that to be determined?
That's the fun part.
But this is for emergencies, so you don't even know if you're gonna use it. Or is this like Jefferson County, where you have an agreement?
It's kind of like.
There's so much for a dump truck, so much for a laborer.
Let's say, for example, this is an actual thing. You ever been to Lake Placid?
Yeah, that's where St. Lawrence usually wins the ECAC.
No, they elect not to go. But anyway.
Touche.
But when you go into Lake Placid, there's a road that kind of goes off to the right. Kind of like, if you kind of bypass, Lake Placid,
Yeah.
it takes you over to where this, okay, that's the name of it's Old Military Road. It's Essex County Highway. However, the state of New York, DOT, when I was over there, my forces did all the winter maintenance on it. We plowed it, we put the salt down, all those kind of things. So we had a shared services agreement with Essex County. And what I had to do was do everything that listed here, all the cost, anticipated costs of all the salt, the fuel, the hours, the truck costs, all those kind of things. And then what the county had to do was to reciprocate with an equivalent value for the services for the state of New York was providing. And so I had to, what you're saying here.
To make it even.
Yeah, that, to be a true shared service.
So what's
And you don't have to necessarily, at the end of the year, even
Right.
up, but it's,
should be close.
yeah, well,
So what's the town of Alexandria gonna provide to New York State DOT for our side?
okay, I can't comment on that. That's, in our case, the highway superintendent has to determine what he's willing to, because he has to be prepared.
Would that be road maintenance or plowing of
Well,
like
what-
Route 26? That,
What happened last year?
Well, for example, see, like, what I would do, like, say, like the town of Keene, they had, I had 8 mowers, 4 I ran on the interstate, 4 I did for the rest of the whole all the state highways in the rest of Essex County, but wouldn't possibly come close to being able to do it. But the town of Keene, for example, had a couple mowers like the town of Alexandria does.
Right.
I would ask them to mow a section of Route 73, a state highway. Stuff
And
like
that went
that.
against the maintenance of that other road?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So what do we need to do tonight?
Accept this agreement, and
But there's no details.
Yeah, I don't know how we can accept it without,
I mean, the concept, no problem, but there's no details.
if we don't have anything we're willing to share, that's the end of it.
Alright.
yeah, but it basically says a blank agreement is attached for your consideration. If you are now in agreement, please sign and date the agreement at the bottom with no numbers on it. Yeah, it looks like with no numbers on it.
Well, it looks like, I understand what you're saying, Mike, but I'm looking here, and it looks like the answers to these are already in here. In New York State DOT, the first answer is emergency services for undeclared emergencies to be determined. The next answer is to be determined. They're all to be determined. So to me, this is an agreement as far as the concept, and there's no obligation on either side, dollar-wise.
Yep, yep.
That's the way I'm taking this.
Then why include this sheet?
Just so that you're showing that that it's not predetermined, otherwise you'd be looking for this sheet.
Okay, but that's not.
No, what?
Allows you to enter into the agreement.
Well, I'm just saying, page 2 would normally be an important part of this. And the fact that it's attached and it all says to be determined,
I'm
to me, the way I read this authorizes the shared service to happen.
Yes, I agree.
Okay, 'cause all I can say is, I did this, and I know how it works.
How it's
I'm just
supposed to
saying.
work. I know, but we didn't write in here to be determined, they did.
Okay? I'm just
Right.
saying, that's just the way it works.
Okay.
Both sides.
I don't have a problem with doing this for 2 years with it to be determined, cause we're not it's not obligating us, it's not obligating them, but what it is allowing the two to work together.
Yep.
That's the way I read it.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, it talks about borrowing equipment, if we borrow it, you know, and we damage it, we gotta fix it, which is reasonable. You know, if our guys are working on their roads, you know, we have to make sure they have insurance and da-da-da-da, 'cause we can't come back on the state if it's our guys working on that.
Like,
That-
I'm just
Okay.
telling you the way it actually is.
A motion then to allow me to sign the agreement?
I'll make a motion to allow supervisor to sign the agreement, going from January 1st, 2020 to December 31st, 2022, 21. 21. Yeah.
Motion by Ron,
I'll second it.
second by Sandy. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? 4 in favor. Motion passed. Mowing locations. So Jamie and Jay have taken over the mowing. They've done it 2 times now, they've mowed everything. I actually haven't mowed everything 2 times, but most things they've mowed 2 times. The list of places is town office building, baseball fields in Redwood, by the water tower, sewer plant, the Route 12 pumping station, Route 26 pumping station, the transfer site, the walking trail, the playground in Redwood, the playground in Plessis, the arena, weed eating and whatever down there. And there was an area today, Mike, that they talked about that was next to the what cemetery?
I don't remember.
Well, it was an area in its town land. I'm not sure if it was Browns Corner Cemetery, I think it was. An area there. And Mike had called me, about having them mow the highway barn. I know that, Jamie mowed the highway barn today. And I think was 20 minutes of mowing for Jamie. It probably took him longer to unload and load the mower than what it did for him to mow it. He might have not have mowed every square inch of it or weed eated it. We have an extra mower at the transfer site. They went up there and checked that out today, started it and ran it, and actually mowed a little bit with it, said it mowed fine. And it's been brought to my attention that couldn't we have the highway barn guys mow the highway barn?
They're right there, and I mean, it doesn't seem very efficient to have somebody have to drive there to do that as opposed to somebody that's already there.
And if they have a mower that's there.
The
Right,
mower's
yeah.
gonna be there, right? So
Yeah.
why would they mow it?
Right,
I thought you said the mower was at the town.
It's gonna get
it's
moved,
going to get
right?
moved. I
Yeah,
would assume it's gonna get.
we can ask them to go pick it up.
Yeah,
Or if they can't pick it up, we can take it to them.
right.
So I need a motion to have, Jamie and Jay mow all those sites that I just spoke of, and have the highway barn mow the highway barn.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Ron, second by John. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, none. For expenditure on highways, this is a document that Mike has given me. Number 19. I think what basically it has in it is, these items came out of the, off the budget. I haven't verified these numbers. Have you verified the numbers, Mike?
No.
Is this the way, I mean, this concept came from town law, right?
Is this something we got from Bob Sly?
I don't believe so.
And then, well, this 254, that's CHIPS money? What is that number?
I thought the CHIPS money was 258. We've got a budget right here.
I'm just saying that,
CHIPS money is DB, isn't it?
you know, today's trying times, but, you know, is that number gonna happen?
I'm sorry, CHIPS money is 158. General maintenance. There's general maintenance total. Personnel services contractual. Well, we've cut personnel services, so I don't think we wanna sign that paper with that 254 in there. General road maintenance, sum of money shall be set aside to expend for primary work and general repairs on 69.9 road miles of town highways, including cruises. I think we gotta go through this before we sign anything and pass it, cause that figure's not accurate since we changed the budget. Anybody else have any thoughts?
I agree.
Yeah.
If you go to page 12 of our budget, DB, maintenance of roads, has personal services and contractual.
Wait a minute, you're page 12
Yes.
of where?
Maintenance of roads, the second item down,
Okay, hold on.
12 of the budget,
Okay, where is it now?
top, second heading down, maintenance of roads.
Okay,
That figure that he has in this agreement has personal services and contractual. We changed that personal services.
okay, so that was the, we dropped that by $85,000, I think, something like that.
I just suggest that we don't sign this agreement and we look into
No.
this. And here's the other thing. So
Yeah.
we sign this agreement and we changed it $85,000. Suppose this COVID-19 doesn't do what it's supposed to, that we're gonna come out of it when we need the personal services to change more.
Right.
Does this lock us in?
I would say, yeah, you can see where the 254, 139 is, and.
I don't wanna get locked in until we know.
No, that's dangerous. But yeah, that.
I've never seen this form before, so we haven't done it in past years.
No, but I believe this is what we've talked about, this is what should have been done.
Should have been done.
And
That was another form that we got from, Bob.
Between that and the county, I think, or no, the county's
Yeah,
supposed
this
to sign
one, the
off
county,
on it
this
too,
is,
right?
yeah, I think at the county. I don't know why the county, that's, but now it seems to recall that.
Remember, because he asked Lawrence,
Yeah. But does this tie our hands? What's the significance of this?
It says, please understand this document is subject to change, we only list.
Of more problem sections of our infrastructure.
Well, it says pursuant to the provisions of section 284 of the highway law, we agree that the monies levied and collected in the town for repairs and improvement of highways and received from the state for state aid, repairs, improvement shall be expanded as follows. And then they move in a list of, but we don't know what those numbers are.
Is this an annual document? Because I don't see a date for what year this is for. Because if you add up these road projects he's got in here, A, B, C, D, and E, you're talking a lot of money.
yeah. But they don't reflect the actions we took at our last meeting.
Well, it says here, you know, that there should be expended, but not over 198,000, so.
But that was our original budgeted figure.
Right, no, I agree.
This should be our new number.
Yeah, 'cause
Yeah.
he's even got the date down as 27, I mean, if this was dated 2 months ago or more, and he
Yeah.
just hadn't brought it up, but this was dated 27 April, and this is all the original budget
Right.
amounts, and we've cut everything by
Yeah.
at least 25%,
Yeah.
and
Right.
I'd say we can't do anything with it.
Not with those numbers.
Nope.
The other thing, I guess, would be the question of whether there should be any more detail on there.
And some of it will be getting done anyways, right? Because we've cut manpower, so, in July.
Fred, has Nicole altered our budget to reflect these changes?
I'm not sure.
Well, what you gave me today
I don't
is
think that
through the
is,
end of March. So that would have been April
Yeah.
should show that. Because these
I don't
March
think-
figures
Right.
agree with this, which was our regular budget, our normal, or
so
original
if
budget.
Nicole's listening, we need her to alter our budget to reflect the layoffs that we've done and the projected
Well, that was-
differences in personal services and,
Yeah, she may very well
How
want
we
to do that.
altered the budget, so that would reflect these numbers.
Yeah.
revise, yep. Okay,
But you can see right where they come from, right there.
And I thought when he met with us, the projects that he said he didn't wanna do, he didn't wanna do the.
Yeah, all these were cut out.
Yeah, Lake Street and Fourth Street
Number 6 road
wasn't
was,
gonna do, and I thought he wasn't gonna do number 6 road.
yeah.
No, this,
And I thought we asked that when he had a project, he had a price tag
per project.
per project,
Right,
not an overall.
not
This
lump.
is what I've got this year, so I'm gonna go do what I can to spend it. That's not the way it works.
Right.
But,
And it'd be nice, because we know that he's already bought, before all this happened,
The pipes,
the piping and a bunch of that stuff, so it'd be nice to know what he has on hand, what additional costs he expects, you know, and, you know, I believe the piping has been paid for, I think I remember seeing bills for that. So the
Yeah, he did all
materials
that.
we've already got,
he did all that in
you had a
February.
question earlier today. How many miles of town roads? It's right there.
69.6,
I'm assuming that's.
no, that's the roads that he wants to, that's the amount of roads he wants to work on. I think
69 miles of road? No, I think that's.
spend the primary work and general repairs on 69.9 road miles. That's how much,
That must be how many miles we've got in the whole town?
That's what I'm thinking.
Right, I mean, if you-
no way.
I thought we had 74, or,
oh, that's 70.
Yeah.
Then I don't know what that, I was assuming that number is
That's
something,
all the road miles we have?
well, that's a lot for a town.
What, is my understanding of
There's no
road
town-
miles explain to me what a road mile is.
Well, there's two different ways to measure it, center
Lane.
line or lane mile.
Yeah.
Meaning like each lane you measure independently, or center line is just right down the middle. And I think that's what this is. But we have no town roads that are 10 miles long. they're all, we have a lot of town roads, but they're all short, just a bunch of little ones.
Okay?
Yep.
Okay, moving on to number 20, Water District Committee Formation, Scheduled Sewer District Committee meeting.
Sorry, I brought that up earlier, I didn't realize it was there.
So, you guys met, and we've all talked about having we have a sewer district, committee. They're going to schedule, another meeting when it's convenient to do that. You take care of that, Mike, talk to your people, and not anything I want you to decide tonight.
We gotta
Okay.
reach out to, because a couple of them, well, you know, one of them goes to
You're talking
Florida,
Redwood Sewer,
you know,
right?
that kinda stuff, they're all coming.
Redwood Sewer,
Yeah.
yeah.
So if you guys could just get together and pick out a date, for you guys to meet, like I said, not to be decided tonight. And, Sandy talked to me, and I think it's a good idea that we have a water district committee too. And on this water district committee, we have people that represent each water district, that live in each water district on this committee. I think that you guys have thrown around some names, you have an idea, and as Sandy said earlier, we'd like to have people that wanna be on this committee to call or write or text us and tell us if they're interested. Route 12, Otter Street, and Redwood are the biggest districts that we could probably have. We talked about 1 or 2 people from each district.
There'll be a couple, you know, the larger.
Carnegie Bay, we could have a person, and the other one is a one-person district, so we won't go there.
A significant portion of them are seasonal, so that's kinda hard there, and it's just small.
Or actually, to be fair, about the one-person district, we could ask he or she if they have a representative that wants to be involved, because their rates change with everybody else's, so we should include them.
And they, you know, it's more than rates, they may have issues that we're just unaware of, and this would be an opportunity.
Yeah, every district's a little unique.
Yeah, it is, yeah. So I think that, you guys put some names together, we'll ask some people, and we'll see what we get from them. And try to get a committee put together and set up a meeting.
Could we put something on the town's website, asking that, and I don't know if you would wanna spend the money, but a little ad in the paper?
Yeah,
I don't
think they look at the paper.
well, you know,
yeah, I'm finding out a lot of people don't, but the other thing is, we could ask Pam, who's gonna listen to this meeting, or listen to the recording of this meeting, if Pam could put something in the article about this meeting, about we're looking for, water district,
Yep.
people to, in each water district to be on a committee.
To the
1 or 2
town
people from,
somebody.
and we'll ask her to put that in her article.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, the last one, 21 is, again, that was tied to the taking papers home and all that, just that we've had a policy, I don't know that it's been formal, that, no work at home is allowed, obviously during COVID-19 while we're on a pause, which ends on what, 15th or 16th of May? Right?
Depends what the governor says.
Yeah.
Unless it gets extended, and we go to phase 1, right? But for the town people that we're talking about, essential and non-essential, that pertains to us, and that's what this is all about. For the time being, we understand work at home, we've got different people answering phones, taking messages, returning calls, so on, but in the future after that, we don't want any work done at home when you don't.
Well, there's a fair amount of stuff that you really shouldn't take out of this building.
Well, right now, we clarified that, right, nothing's going out of the building. His permission.
I'm just kind of,
Yeah.
you know, so if you can't take it out of the building, and it's what you're working on, you can't work on it, you know, you need to come here.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we open back up the 15th, you're thinking?
That's when the pause is supposedly,
Well, that's when phase 1 kicks in.
Kicks in.
Phase 1, this is for the North Country, is, I sent you guys all a copy of it, is construction, manufacturing, supply chain, and retail curbside pickup. So I don't know where government falls into there.
I was gonna say, if you go down through all those phases, I don't believe there's anything that has government, is there?
No, but I
Or
think
municipalities?
phase two is probably closer. Professional services, finance, insurance, retail, administrative support, and real estate and rental is in phase two. That's the problem,
That's
these,
2 weeks later supposedly if we don't have an increase in the
Right.
curve, right?
yep,
So we're probably looking at June 1st.
right. Cause these are all Saturdays, I believe.
Okay, so I need a motion to, clarify that, there's no work at home for town employees, except for what's going on right now during the COVID-19 pause.
So we're talking about on a general basis, okay, no work at
And
home.
I think that
Yep.
what you said earlier, unless the exception of permission from the supervisor.
Right, yeah, well, that'd almost be twofold. One, yeah, if we put that same thing, cause taking paperwork out of here has to be with your approval, and working at home would have to be with your approval.
Yep.
So there's a one caveat on there,
Yep.
okay. Yep, so I'll make a motion, that no work at home, for town employees, with the exception of COVID-19 while we're on pause, unless with the written permission of the town supervisor.
Motion by Ron,
Okay, I'll second that.
second by Mike. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? None. Motion passed. I don't have anything for executive session. Does anybody else? No.
We talk about wheeling charges for outer street.
If you want to, I will.
No, no.
Alright, don't get me started.
I know.
Don't get hit.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Motion by Ron to adjourn. Need a second?
I'll second that.
Second by John. Any discussion? Everybody okay with adjourning?
Okay.
Yeah, do
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? None.
I'll turn everything
So
off
there's
this
no more
time.
meeting, there's not another meeting until
26.
Which is what, 2 weeks? Or no, it's a little longer.
May.
That's 3 weeks.
We'll turn everything off.
Okay, 3 weeks in May, okay. 3
Yeah.
weeks in May.
Well, that 26,
This
right?
was the special meeting.
Yeah.
Oh, no, we moved it the day before.
Yeah, we did. 25th, Tuesday.
25th.
Oh,
It's the 25th, not the 26th?
Hold on.
It's on Tuesday. Because of grievance day.
Town meeting, 26, Tuesday the 26th.
That's what I
Yes.
thought.
okay.
At, 6 o'clock.
Yep.
At 5 o'clock.
You turn that off, Ron?
I thought our meetings were now at 5 o'clock.
Yes, the meetings are at 5 o'clock.
Okay, that must have been earlier.
All right. Make sure I remember that.
I gotta go turn that power switch off in the other room.
Mike, you just exit out of it?
See this, also, see where it says split screen? Get that, no, over here. Right here with this title, split screen.